There's Alan Brown, hands full coming out of the turn, heading down Conrod Straight again.
And Larry Perkins in the dealer team Commodore car 5, which is co-driving with Peter Brock, has just passed the halfway mark in the 1982 James Hardie 1000, and we'll be back after this break for more of the great race.
He gave it a... Welcome back to the James Hardie 1000. We're inside the car with Larry Perkins. Heading down Conrod Straight now. Information is that Perkins will come in, perhaps this time around, to be taken over, have the car taken over by Peter Brock.
Mike, right now, it's the only car on the front running lap. He's out there on his own.
Just completed the 81st lap, so Peter Brock, Larry Perkins and the Marlborough Holden dealer team pick up the Motorola Communications $500 award.
I wonder if he's run out of fuel. He has really slowed down. Two cars whizzed by him. He's going much slower than he should. There's something that caused him to slow down, because he was overtaken at phenomenal speed by other cars. It might be a fuel problem. If that's so, there's a Capri 3-litre going by. Let's look at the gauge. Well, it's a bit hard to pick up where the actual needle itself is, but if the Marlborough Holden dealer team are judging, yes, it was empty, it was showing. If they're judging as finely as that, they really are playing a very precise sort of game.
And a game that can backfire if anything goes astray.
Over the bumps, will he just be able to...
He's just rolling in there. There's Brock. Perkins getting out. Chris Economaki.
Watching Larry Perkins refitting Mr. Brock to the driver's seat. Remember, these gentlemen are approximately the same size. The belts seem to be going in. Whether they're tight enough or not, I don't know. Now Perkins is talking with Brock, telling him about the condition of the car, the information that Brock needs to know to do a good job. Brock is the absolute picture of confidence and optimism here. The crew is very proficient. The right side is down already. The windshield is being washed. The fuel is all in. This could be one of the quicker pit stops of the day, and I believe it was as it goes off. Hey, Larry, well, what kind of a stint was it?
Beautiful.
You're soaking wet in the back.
I had a beautiful run. I just coasted to orders, and car's going beautiful. Good as the day we came up here.
Any frights? Any close calls?
A couple of them, very minor with slow cars, but absolutely no problem.
Okay, you look happy, and the team member, Larry Perkins, who's just turned over to Pete Brock, seems confident as well. Back to the box.
Thank you very much, Chris. And you were certainly right in saying it was a quick stop. We timed it 35.2 seconds. So that's the fastest of the top runners. So that's put them in even better shape than they were before. Now Peter Brock is out on the track, seeing how the car feels. If Larry is correct, it feels perfect. So he's in front with a good motor car and the final stint for Peter Brock. A long haul for him, though. but out there, and he'll stay in the car till the end of the race.
Following one of the barbecues galore Camaros, and Brian Callahan making a run down here on number 47. Callahan is coming back through the field. Steve Masterton now in for the pits. Bruce Stewart about ready to take over. One of the better presented cars here at the James Hardie this year.
Yes, the presentation of the car certainly is a credit to the team. Carol Smith, running the team, has given them a few tips which only come with experience. They're new at the business of running big cars, but they'll become very proficient, I'm sure, and they're up in 14th place, and that's a good result. They may grow higher if the car seems to be as good as it looks. Had some problems in preparation, had a few worries, seemed to have them all sorted out, and today in fact was the first time they really seemed to be reasonably content with the way the car was performing. And up on the top of the track, the two Chevrolet Camaros of the Barbecues Galore team are running nose to tail. A nice way to be, just leading each other around. Car 6, Ron Dixon and Bob Stevens, two very experienced drivers of big cars. And the other one, car 12, Jeff Leeds and Peter Fitzgerald. Peter Fitzgerald, of course, who normally runs the Porsche in sports car events in Australia, has moved into running a Mazda RX-7 in series production. He qualifies for the Rookie of the Year, as is Peter Fitzgerald's first time in the car trailing. Car number 6, though, is the one leading, the one that Ron Dixon and Bob Stevens are sharing.
The pit stop, which saw Peter Brock take over again in 05, has now put 4 other cars back on the front running lap with him. They are Alan Grice, Johnny Harvey, Dick Johnson and Alan Moffat, but the gap between first and second, Brock and Alan Grice, or Alan Brown, who's now in the recar, is 1:18 seconds.
Well, a comfortable edge at this time for the Marlborough Holden dealer team. The professional way they go about motor racing is a credit to them. There's the two Camaros heading down Conrod Straight. Actually, Brian Callahan is just ahead of those two. Now, the 100-mile-an-hour tape, as they call it, duct tape.
We saw the bonnet coming loose on the car that Bob Tullius and John Goss were sharing. Came into the pits to have it taped down. It's flapping just too much, distracting the drivers, and Tullius going out as the two Chevy Camaros run past. Well, they're having a run that's had some events, but one of the great incidents in the race involved another Chevy Camaro, car 9. Jim Finico also got his moment of interest when he crashed in at the end of Mountain Straight.
BMW 41 using a little oil, and the former race winner, driven last year by Dick Johnson, being campaigned under a different banner this year, being pushed behind the pit area. We've seen some great action and some great dicing between the cars in the race. That's the John Goss Jaguar with a loose bonnet, which they've had to tape down with about 1.5 miles of tape.
David Hobbs was passing, but the man who's been leading the race, Peter Brock, with a magnificent stint in the middle of the event by his co-driver, Larry Perkins.
Larry Perkins not only took over the wheel for the stint from Peter Brock, but held the lead that they had at that time, and in fact even extended it over second place getter in the mid stages, and that was Alan Grice. When Perkins took over, he led by 37 seconds, and when he handed back to Brock, the lead was 44 seconds.
Alan Moffat, could this be a winning drive? He's been going so reliably, so quickly. He's now up in 4th place, running very well. Gary Wilmington had problems, a young driver, and another one who had problems. The Sybil's entry from Queensland ran out of fuel, had to be pushed into the pits. A number of cars going very close to the limit with fuel. The two Marlborough Holden dealer team cars both ran out of fuel on the straight on their last lap before refueling, which is judging it very, very finely indeed.
Meantime, with John French at the wheel of the Palmer Prudential Falcon, we continue to see great pictures like this from the 7 race cam.
That's updating the James Hardie 1000.
Moffat's in the pits. This could be the changeover to Katayama, the driver. The word from the pits also is that the front stabiliser bar in Dick Johnson's Falcon with John French in it has broken, so we may have to come into the pits. John French has reported the stabiliser bar has broken. Moffat changing over to the Japanese driver. He built a left-hand drive car to give him better weight distribution around what is predominantly a left-hand circuit. And Katayama, the most experienced Mazda racer in the world, takes over from Alan Moffat, and that's a long haul and a rather stiff and I'm sure tired Alan Moffat pulls out. And Katayama gives it about 1 million revs and goes over the speed bumps on the straight and about to drive his first race here at Mount Panorama. Over the second speed hump.
Nothing to do with Channel 7's telecast, but some well-wisher up on the mountain.
The lid comes off and it's full of cold cans. By the way, while Katayama was pulling out of the pits there in the Stuyvesant Mazda car 43, pulling back in the pits again was the Nissan Bluebird with Hasimi at the wheel, car 56. He'd managed to get himself up into 6th place on the track, 2 laps down on the race leader, but he's going to lose more ground now. Disappointment there.
We lost car 55, the team car to this. George Fury stopped on the top of the mountain with some sort of mechanical problem and he's out of the race. But the Japanese pair have been going exceptionally well, not only leading their class, but being up in the position where they could still win the race. There's some unintended work going on. There are people under the car there. Look, you can see they're not. That's not just a scheduled stop. There is some problem. Bad news for the Nissan team. The car's gone so well. It's around the back right-hand corner of the car. Maybe a brake problem, something to do with the axle. But they're paying a lot of attention there. Some Japanese, other Australian mechanics in the Nissan team. A man wearing heat-proof gloves because it's very hot back there. The only surviving turbo car in the race. You can see the heat pouring around from the differential area.
I've had my fingers burned once or twice, but that's ridiculous.
You follow it as the pit crews try and effect repairs there, and you can see how hot it is. Asbestos gloves.
Well, this is losing time to a team that has been running so well.
It's a major setback for the Nissan Turbo.
The poor fellow with the gloves are one thing, but his eyes are being absolutely blinded by smoke. It's pouring out through the exposed wheel arts. The direction of wind is blowing it right out over his face, as you can see. It's like standing near a fireplace. Now, the smoke always comes towards you when you're trying to cook a barbecue. Same thing.
Behind the wheel, Masahiro Hasimi, who's already had a break earlier in the race, is back in the car now, but frustration because he was doing so well. The car really has been flying and promised to be right in the thick of things towards the end of the race when this befell them, and they can't even get to it to repair it. Meantime, Chris Economaki has another interview for us down in the pit area.
Yeah, I'm with Gary Cook. Gary, were you really running faster laps than Alan Grace when trouble hit?
Yes, just before the changeover, Warren pulled in. He was running high 21s, low 22s. We're actually pulling Alan's car in our times.
Yeah. Engine trouble is what put your car out, right?
Yes, we blew a head gasket, yes.
Why is there so much engine trouble today, particularly among the Commodores?
Well, we just can't work it out. We've got the best of everything in the motor, and the gasket just went, no reason at all. The car was running very cool, the oil pressure and everything was very good.
I'm interested in the feelings of the man. Here's the biggest race of the year, the biggest race in the country, and you're out early. What went through your mind when you saw those needles start going back to zero?
Just disappointment. The whole thing. We thought we had a very good chance of winning this.
Race drivers are eternal optimists. You're looking forward to the next race, I imagine.
Oh, we are, yes, very much so.
Okay, Gary Cook, another one of the men, a victim of the James Hardie 1000. Back to the bottom.
Thank you, Chris. In the meantime, we have the pit stop for the second of the Recar Commodores, the Ron Wanless, Gary Rogers entry.
Been in the pits about 7 times.
We've heard reports that the Dick Johnson, John French-driven Ford Falcon, the Prudential car, has had a sway bar problem. John French, can you read us?
Yes, I can hear.
John, we had a report that you got a sway bar problem. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, they told me from the pits I got a sway bar broken. It was getting a bit oversteering. I thought it was just because I was getting a light fuel load, but obviously the front bar's broken. It slowed me up about a second a lap.
Can you keep on going with that problem, John?
Oh, yes, that'll be no bother.
What do you have to do to compensate for that?
Go a bit slower. through the corners.
What, the tail wants to come out, does it?
Yep, yep.
How will it affect you, John, on some of the rougher parts of the track? Because there are some rather nasty bits. Say where you're approaching now, where you dip down towards McPhillamy Park.
It's not too bad through the fast corners. It's only when you're flicking backwards and forwards through the S's and that.
It goes to show, John, that there's no substitute for experience, eh?
I hope you're right.
Well, I can think of a few drivers who've had a broken sway bar would come into the pits and maybe lose about 4 or 5 minutes.
They could kill me. I suppose that's why he picks an old fella.
How do you get on with Dick?
Oh, good. He knows I'm better than him, and we don't argue about it.
We're watching Dick in the pits and he's watching you on the screen, I'm sure. But the words you can offer to Dick, though, are that the car is okay, you're just losing, what, only a second a lap, which really maybe isn't too important. Correct?
Well, Dick's going to have to make it up.
I'll tell him that.
John, when do you propose coming in to change over?
I've been asking to come in for half an hour, but they won't let me.
Okay, John, we'll let you take a rest. Thanks again for the update about the car and good luck for the continuation of the race.
Thank you.
That says it all.
Yes.
Real fast.
Yeah, the car's still running well. He knows he still has a chance of winning, but he builds the car, prepares the car, lives with the car. And the fans up there who don't know the message still reckon he eats whatever it is for breakfast. But
obviously they're not the paid up members of the Nissan or the Katayama fan club up on the top of the mountain. But Dick Johnson, with a giggle, still a smile to crack. The car's out there, it's still running, it's competitive, and we've still got a long way to go in the 1982 James Hardie 1000.
Dick Johnson has worked so hard to get this car ready. It's an XE Falcon with a new coil spring rear suspension. He reckoned he was working for a couple of months on the basis of 7 days a week, 18 hours a day to build the car. And when I saw him at Sandown, he was a very tired man. Looks a bit fresher now, remarkably relaxed. I suppose he reckons that he can't do any more. He works hard, he loves the car, he puts all of himself into it. And he's still in there with a winning chance. He's got something wrong with the front, but as you heard John French tell you, they can handle that. But they are now going to call John French into the pits. That's the message we get from the pit row, that this car with John French driving will be brought into the pits. And John French, who told you he wanted to come in for the last half an hour, is about to have his wish granted. Gee, he's turned in a good spell of driving.
Always does.
You know, he started in the very first Armstrong 500 in 1960, and he won last year in 1981. 21 years apart. Took a long time to win, but a measure of the man, the great Queensland driver, John French. He's got plenty of supporters there too.
They'd give their shirt for John.
Go for it, true blue. And that's exactly what Frenchie's doing down the straight. And if information is correct, it'll be the last time that he'll barrel down there this afternoon, because he's about to, on this or the next lap or so, hand the car back to Dick Johnson. And it'll be Johnson that will have to wrestle with that sway bar bolt. He's going for one more lap.
Well, he hasn't got the message yet probably. He'll get the signal there. Although, of course, they can speak on the radio, although he was talking at the time to us, so they probably couldn't communicate with him. Yes, is that Finnegan behind? Yes. A brave effort by them, and the Commodore that was one of the three cars badly damaged on the second lap of the race. But the reason I think that we've had trouble with so many of the cars is not engine problems, but the fact they've been hitting each other or hitting things.
I've been watching the Seiko 7 Mazda, and I noticed last time round Barry Jones was going very slowly along pit straight. Seems to be having some gear selection trouble.
They did have gearbox problems in practice.
And at Sandown.
Yes, that's right, where Alan Jones, in fact, couldn't get gears. Maybe it's recurring. I was talking to Bert Jones, Barry's father, who helped prepare the car, and saying the box is a bit suspect. They had to be very careful with the start of the race so they don't break up first gear. but it could be that Alan Jones, or Barry Jones rather, driving at the moment, is having gearbox problems, so we may see them in the pits. That's car 27, the Mazda RX-7 of the Jones boys.
Meanwhile, we follow John French on what should be his last spell at the wheel. So he'll be coming in, we believe, the next time past the pits to hand over to Dick Johnson.
And is that Garth Wixon showing what might have been? Just passing him, one of the cars that was damaged, the Tasmanian driver.
Texas Instruments tell us the top 10 overall. There it is on your screen. 05 Commodore, Brock and Perkins, followed by the Recar Commodore of Grice and Brown. The second dealer team car, Scott and Harvey. Then John French and Dick Johnson in the Palmer Prudential Falcon. Katayama at the wheel of the Stuyvesant Mazda, car 43 at the moment, holding down 5th spot. Then car 27, Jones and Jones, but remains to be seen whether they stay there or not much longer. Car 31, the BMW of Richards and Hobbs. The Commodore car 3 of Jansen and Parsons. Then another Commodore with Benson, Brown and O'Brien, car 11 in 9th spot. And car 40, the Strongbow Mazda of Dane and McLeod in 10th spot.
So for the first time we have 3 Mazdas in the top 10.
And for the first time I think we don't have a Bluebird in the top 10. Car 56, that long pit stop has put them out of the running.
Our special thanks go to Texas Instruments Australia Limited for their participation in the 1982 James Hardie 1000. We should pick up the pit stop this time around for John French. Yes, he heads down the pit lane going in. There has been a suggestion that they may try to replace the sway bar, and just ahead of him is Barry Jones limping in with the number 27 Mazda, holding up John French for a moment or two.
So 2 of the most important runners of the event into the pits at the same time. Jones, who was running in 6th, and John French running in 4th place in the Falcon, the Palmer Prudential Falcon. Dick Johnson will take over. Tyre change, fuel going in, that's just a matter of course. Someone will probably look at the sway bar, but I don't think they're too concerned about that. John French just telling him about the car. Having a chat, getting his belt lined up, telling him anything about the car or the track that he would need to know. So Dick Johnson back for the final stint in car 17.
Well, there's one with this problem. We'll wait for it to come through. There we go. Let's see who we've got here. One of the Recar team cars.
16.
Going quick.
It was going quick, but blowing a puff of smoke. I don't know if it's on the wheel or whether it was coming out. Yes, he's rubbing a fender. He's had a bump by the look of it, cut something, and the fender has moved in, or the guard anyway.
It may be where the car was damaged when Ron Wanless had that bump much earlier in the race. There may be something that's just touching. Certainly there is blue smoke coming from the front of the car. Let's see under movement. It seems to be right, bends to the left. What's it like to the right? Yeah, not so good that way. Yes, he's trying hard. Dick Johnson, in the meantime, has gone out a very quick stop, so Johnson is looking good and out on the track. Lost very little time there.
Back on the track again.
Gary Rogers going quickly, but puffing smoke when he turns the wheels in certain directions. It may just be rubbing slightly, in which case he won't be too concerned. Down to the pit row where John French is lined up with Chris Economaki.
I'm here with John French. John, I must say that you look as though your stint has been easier on you than it's been on a lot of the younger guys. How was it out there?
Oh, it wasn't too bad actually, Chris. Until this front bar broke, it was pretty good, but then with the light fuel load and hot rear tyres, it got a bit oversteery. But
Got some parts here. Let's have a look here. And what have we here?
Well, it's the good titanium bar, and looks like she's not quite enough strength in it for the loads of the Falcon.
Ha! Well, so the race is beginning to take its toll. How's the car handling?
Oh, well, except for the oversteer, it's pretty good. Now Dick's got new rear tyres and a full load of fuel. He should come back to reasonable sort of times. Obviously, we're not going to actually police special Commodores, but we'll be out there giving everyone else a bad time.
Well, that's good. Okay, John, thank you very much, and back to the box.
Thank you very much. And Alan Jones and Barry Jones's Mazda has been taken to the back of the pits for attention to the gearbox. We'll be returning with the action in a few moments' time. just want to come up here for?
Get on with it.
That's the Palmer Prudential Falcon. True Blue Queenslander Dick Johnson, car 17, and he's in 5th position on the racetrack at the moment. A lap down on race leader 05 Peter Brock in the Marlborough Holden dealer team Commodore. Dick Johnson. Are you there, Dick?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, it's Wilco, mate. How's it going?
Oh, not too bad for an old bloke, mate. How's yourself?
I'm pretty good, Dick. It's a little less hectic up here than it is where you are. What about this sway bar problem?
Oh, well, we just have to live with it, eh?
Yeah, okay. Got a couple of blokes in front you've got to pass yet, so don't give up the ship.
Oh, no, don't worry, mate. We won't give up. Never say die till the end.
What about track conditions, Dick, at the moment? Must be a lot of rubber down out there. Dirt, oil.
Yeah, there's a bit of everything. And especially up through XL, there's a lot of dirt on the side of the road. But other than that, it's not that bad. Because our tyres are pretty new at the moment. We'll just have to wait and see how they end up. But she's pretty taily because there's no front bar on. And other than that, we'll just keep trucking on to the end, I suppose.
Dick, the traffic has thinned out. There don't seem to be too many obstructions in that regard.
No, they've had a few fatalities, unfortunately.
Mechanically, apart from the sway bar problem, the car's running great by the sound of it.
Yeah, it's not bad for something. I think we've used more oil than we have petrol, but these old engines, they just keep running forever and a day. I think the most I've seen on the tacho so far is about 9.8. So we'll just have to keep it into it, because I believe that in the next 12 months or so, we're going to have to rev the pick handles out of these old mothers to stay with those pretty quick old Commodores.
Oh, you never know. Ford might even develop a new police car.
Oh, I don't know about that, but we might do one ourselves, I think.
Everything looking pretty good then, Dick.
Yeah, we're not going too bad. Thanks, Gary.
Righto, Dick Johnson, we'll leave you in peace for a little while and get on with some serious driving, and we'll talk to you again later.
Thank you.
Dick Johnson, I'll tell you what, for a man that's involved in a real fight out there to catch the top 4 cars in front of him, he's a man that's really relaxed and knows exactly what he's about. He's got a fight on his hands with that car too, as blasé as he may try to sound. It is a bit of a handful for him.
He's got a fight on his hands. If you look who's looming up behind him.
Yeah.
Coming down Conrod straight away.
Trying to put another lap on him.
Well, watch this as we come down. Never ceases to amaze me when you get sportsmen. Oh, they're trying this 3 wide. This is at the very precarious part of the fastest part of the track. And tailgating, the Marlborough Holden dealer team Commodore right behind Dick Johnson.
Both our camera cars on the track, nose to tail. The view out the rear window of the Palmer Prudential Falcon. There's Brock in 05, left-hander at Murray's corner. Brock already has a lap on Johnson, remember. This had put him 2 laps up. He pulls out, moves alongside, down to the end of pit straight, the left-hander into Hell's corner, and Brock is now 2 laps up on Dick Johnson.
I don't think Dick needed that.
Well, that's just going to make the job even harder for Dick Johnson from here out. So as Brock and Johnson make their way back up Mountain Straight again, let's take you over to pit lane and Chris Economaki.
Okay, I'm down here in the pits with an obviously disappointed Alan Jones. You've had a tough Bathurst, the Falcon out, and now I gather the Mazda's spinning.
Well, I can't even say I've had better either. No, I am disappointed because obviously I think our Falcon would have been going very well. And we were just getting up into 4th place or 5th place in the Mazda. And we stripped 2nd gear coming out of this left-hander into the pit straight here. Just blew it completely.
I understand that the transmission is really the Achilles heel of the Mazda today.
Yeah, well, I think it's, you know, they're getting more and more horsepower out of the car, and we have a gearbox which a certain other person, I believe, has got, and so ours is a little bit more vulnerable.
Alan, you're playing a new role here. You're a team owner and a manager. What's it like compared to being a driver?
Terrible. I'm going to give it a miss, I think.
Okay, thanks very much, and better luck next time, Alan.
Thanks, Chris.
Back to the bar.
Thank you very much. Not only terrible, it's more expensive too. That is bad luck. I know Bert Jones was saying that they had a problem with the gearbox. Now they're very concerned about how much power they could feed through at the start. So the hopes of the race being won by other than a V8 rest fairly and squarely on the shoulders of Alan Moffat.
We also have the situation where John Harvey is catching Alan Brown rather dramatically. The gap has been coming down lap after lap. So maybe Harvey's going to make a big, bold, late charge here for 2nd place. There's the race leader, though. They've been picking up all the lap money from Wins Friction Proofing. $500 for the outright leader at 1 o'clock. They picked up the Motorola Communications Australasia Award for $500 as the overall outright leader of the 81st lap. And looking good for the 2nd of the Wins Friction Proofing Awards at 2 o'clock. So Alan Grice might have won all the early money, but the Marlborough Holden dealer team is now starting to pick up at least $500 at a time.
There's the Phillips scoreboard, and that shows that Brock in the lead by 2 minutes and 14 seconds ahead of Alan Grice at the moment, and they're the only 2 on the front running lap. A lap down, John Harvey in the 2nd dealer team Commodore, followed by Alan Moffat, the Stuyvesant Mazda RX-7 car 43, and then 2 laps down on the race leader Brock. We've got Dick Johnson in the Palmer Prudential Falcon car 17.
Oh, this is heady stuff.
Boy, look at this.
3 abreast. He pulled out to pass Alan Brown, then has taken another lap on the car coming 2nd, so he's got by Alan Brown in car 4, and he had a big Chevy Camaro on the outside as well. That is pretty desperate stuff, but Peter Brock still going as hard as he can. He's driving his own pace. There's no finer judge of the way to take a car to victory than Peter Brock. But you have to take a deep breath and just hope that he's doing the right thing when you see him going 3 at best, up through the cutting at Mount Panorama. Still, he got away with it.
Peter Brock is now the front running car in this race on the lead lap, all on his own. And those 4 bottles of oil are sitting there waiting for Dick Johnson's Palmer Prudential Falcon.
He must have done the rings completely then if he's using that much oil, which suggests he's making 1 more stop. So not good news from Dick Johnson's point of view.
If they load that with any more oil, they could pour it directly to the sump.
Well, Peter Brock has won this race already 5 times, which puts him 1 more than Alan Moffat with 4 victories. Harry Firth and Bob Jane, each of whom had 4 victories in the Armstrong 500 and the Gallagher 500 and the Hardie Ferodo, the races that preceded this in title. The same race, of course, since its early origins way back in 1960 at Phillip Island in Victoria. Ford have won overall 10 times. Holden 8. It might be 9 after today. V8s have won 14 times the last 10 in a row. And the only way they're going to lose today, I suspect, is if Alan Moffat can get his rotary Mazda up there into the winner's circle. He's still well placed. Something has to go wrong with 05 and 4 and 25. So he's got 3 really good V8s still in front of him.
Yes, the only other smaller capacity car in contention would be the BMW, the Mazda McLeod Mazda car 40.
Brock trying to, I think, open the gap a little bit, give himself more of a buffer. He's certainly been doing a great job since he took over from Larry Perkins. Hasn't spared the rod, so to speak, with the car. And John Harvey also doing a great stint. Now he's back at the wheel of the second dealer team Commodore, number 25.
Peter Brock, the man who was involved in all the contentious issue during the running of the Australian Touring Car Championship this year. Legal challenges and court actions over an alleged illegal inlet manifold. The case, of course, resolved out of court, and Brock, by not going on with the case, foregoing any chance of the touring car title, which went to Queenslander Dick Johnson, winner of this race last year when it was foreshortened by 40 laps by that incredible pile-up on top of the mountain.
It's been 2 years since Brock has been the national touring car champion, but he's won this race 5 times. First of all in 1972, as we see the Texas Instrument printout of the leading 10. Another Mazda has crept on the leading board, the one of Ron Gillard and Phil Alexander.
So there are 3 of them in the top 10.
Yes, they're 6 laps behind, but still they're starting to fill up the lead. Peter Brock won the race in a 6-cylinder Tirana in 1972, the last time that anything but a V8 has won the race. And then he won in a SLR Tirana in 75, and again in 78 and 79, and then 80 when he switched to a Commodore. So this may be the year in which he scores his 6th victory and the 2nd in the Commodore. He now has a big margin over the opposition. Alan Brown, he's passed him. So we put another lap on him in 2nd place. John Harvey, in fact, will be probably challenging for Alan Brown to try and take 2nd spot away from him.
They're down to about 6 seconds, the gap there.
Well, it puts a tremendous load on the shoulders of Alan Brown with someone like John Harvey after him.
3-litre class, by the way, is now being led, believe it or not, by Barry Seaton, former race winner and one of the real veterans of touring car racing, certainly around here at Mount Panorama. Barry Seaton and Don Smith in car 50, the Capri leading a 3-litre class, ahead of 56, the Nissan Bluebird with Hassini at the wheel. Car 50, by the way, that we were just talking about, the 3-litre leader with Barry Seaton, didn't arrive here until 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon and went out for only the one qualifying session on Friday afternoon. So that's the situation. Peter Brock, the race leader, Barry Seaton, the leader in the 3-litre class. We'll be back with more action from Mount Panorama after this break. car 21, Stephen Harrington, who was involved in a 3-car pile-up at the top of the mountain on the third lap of the race. And those very temporary repairs that were effected to the front of the vehicle to get it back out on the track and racing. They're still circulating, but boy, they're having all sorts of problems, and they've been in the pits a number of times. And talking about being in the pits, Chris Economaki is there.
I'm sitting here with John Shepard, a recognized excellent car builder and a student of the sport. John, the stresses and strains of the race are beginning to show. Here's Dick Johnson out there with a broken sway bar. Alan Jones Mazda's in with a broken transmission. Where are the stresses the strongest on the racetrack here?
I guess suspension-wise, Chris, they get a lot of trouble going down through the S's and all that sort of thing, and I would imagine that's where Dick's sway bar would have got into trouble, you know, where they drop down and one wheel comes off the ground. It puts an enormous load when the car comes back onto that. Transmission-wise, I don't think there's any disasters except the bumps in the road. You hear the cars buzzing as they're going and the wheels spinning over the bumps, so that's not good for them, obviously.
You can see on our picture in many of the corners where they pick up the inside wheels. The entire weight of the car is on the right-hand wheel.
Yeah.
That must be a tremendous loading on the metal there.
That's right. Yeah. And that's the sort of thing, as we say, it's when the car lurches back down on it, it gets the full weight of the car on one wheel, and it's very, very hard on the suspension and all the components.
Do you have drivers here who are able to baby a car in a sense here, and others who are tough on it?
Yes, the man that's in the lead at the moment will carry that car around by the bootstraps if necessary. He nurses a car and is very, very kind to it, and you'll find when he's finished the race that car will be like brand new. And that's one of the reasons, obviously, why he's out where he is at the moment.
Obviously, these cars are essentially the same as the cars of last year. Some of the Commodores are just a tad lighter, have a bit more horsepower, but the speeds are dramatically higher. What has been the reason for the sharp escalation in speed?
To be honest with you, Chris, I don't know. It's one of those intriguing things. Things just seem to evolve as time goes by. As you say, all of a sudden, magically, the cars are doing a lot more miles an hour down the straight, which is amazing, actually. Obviously, the lack of weight and the fact that they've been allowed to use the big valve heads has helped them no end as far as the Commodores are concerned.
In building a car for the James Hardie 1000, what is the key thing you strive for?
It's a testing all year long, and it's really reliability with speed. Now, that's a silly thing to say, I guess, because that's everyone's dream, but to make a car run just below the speed where something will break, that's a very, very difficult thing to achieve.
In my country, at Daytona and Indianapolis, the teams go there and they test and test and test at the same track on which they're going to have the race. Here, you cannot come to Bathurst and test. Is this a handicap for the car builders? Of course, it's the same for everybody.
It's a handicap in the sense that you can't test what actually will go wrong at Bathurst, but we, as I said to you, when I was with the dealer team, we would test all year long, and every component we would try to run it for 1,000 k's so we knew whether it was going to last that amount of time. We would put it back in an engine to see whether it would last, so we test a lot of reliability factors over the period of the year, so it's not quite as bad as it sounds.
Okay, thank you very much, John Shepard. We're inside and back to the box.
Thanks very much, Chris Economaki. As the viewers could see during that discussion then, Peter Brock, who was driving like a whirlwind out there, has just put one lap more on Alan Moffat.
That would give him some satisfaction too, I think, and now it puts him 2 laps in the lead over the Mazda. Alan Moffat still maintaining his position, but he has 2 laps to make up, and he knows really that if he's going to beat Peter Brock, something has to go wrong with Peter Brock. And you people at home, I wonder what you think as you watch Peter Brock going so quickly. If you've put your entry into the Clock Brock competition with a prize, an SS Commodore, do you think you've got the right speed? We'll be clocking Peter Brock to see what sort of lap times he's circulating in now. He's certainly going very rapidly.
Strongbow Mazda car 40, Peter McLeod, which was up among the top 10, has pulled into the pits. Quick stop, fuel, and out again. Back on the track.
This could well be the year of the Marlborough Holden dealer team, for apart from Peter Brock, who manages to stretch his lead every lap, John Harvey has been making dramatic ground on Alan Brown. The gap initially was 25.91 seconds, and it is now down to only 6 seconds and still dropping. So I think we might see a challenge for second place very, very shortly, with John Harvey taking second place away from the Recar Commodore team.
The big team's doing well. One of the smaller teams not doing so well in the pits at the moment, Scotty Taylor from Wodonga, has his Commodore in the pits. Peter Brock, though, going great guns, and down the bottom of the track, just crossing the start-finish line now, in fact. We have the battle between car 4 and 25. Alan Brown still leading John Harvey, but the margin certainly is closing.
3.4 seconds at the moment. That's going to become real dice in the next lap or so, because Harvey's got the long legs out. Alan Brown fighting to hold him off until they come back for another driver change to hand over to Alan Grice again, but it's going to be a little way off yet. What's going to happen in this dice between Alan Brown and John Harvey, we'll be back to find out at Mount Panorama after this break.
Welcome back to the James Hardie 1000. As we went to that break, we had John Harvey closing dramatically on Alan Brown and the Recar Commodore, and he has just passed Brown and the Recar machine. There's John Harvey, number 25, the Marlborough Holden dealer team, looking strong. Yep. 1 and 2.
Alan Brown now back in third place. The car that led the race from the early stages. There's a car stranded out here, obviously. There's a rescue truck going to pick someone up from up the top of the circuit. But Alan Brown now back in third position. Alan Grice, who drove the first two stints, has gone too far to get back in the car, although they might be doing some hasty calculations to see just how much time Alan Grice is allowed to drive. The regulations do insist that a driver is only allowed to go for a maximum amount of time, and I suspect that Alan Grice went very close to that in those first two long stints, and that Alan Brown will probably have to stick with it for the rest of the run.
You can still hear plenty of cheering from the spectators on top of the mountain. The popular pick, Peter Brock.
Oh, he's picking up a break there. You saw the puff of smoke. The wheel lifted, of course, going through the dip, and then when he braked, it locked. The smoke was just from a tyre burning. It can cause a flat spot. That's the car on the side of the road that the truck may be going to get. Looks like a Falcon that's parked on the left there. May have been John English car, although I think he retired earlier, the same colour, the red Falcon. Down Conrod Straight. A new bridge across the circuit, the John Player Special Bridge, designed to allow spectator access to new stands that are to be built on the far side of Conrod Straight. Just the bridge so far, access next year. A number of improvements have been carried out in the circuit to do with spectator facilities, new VIP towers on the right-hand side of the track at the point where Alan Brown is now passing opposite the pits. A great place to get a good view of the race.
Second rig,
Gary Rogers
in trouble.
Slipped there wide going up or down the mountain. He's maybe parked it out of the harm's way, but no, he intends getting back on the race once he gets a clear run. But look at it. The car shuffling around.
He wants to have a good shot at it too, because if he gets jammed halfway across there and has to back up.
Somebody else will back him up.
Here he, oh, don't stop there. You can see for yourself.
Look at the field coming down through the mountain.
He mustn't move now. He's dependent entirely on what the marshal tells him. There are cars coming all the time.
There's one still coming.
But he might just get out of the way in time. The man coming down really got the fright of his life. Capri.
He's got a flat back tyre.
Well, he had trouble there with part of the body scraping on the tyre earlier.
I think there he's got the problem with the rear tyres. Make sure of that for you.
Yeah.
Yes, he
right
has.
Rear.
Outside rear.
Right as attack.
Updating the 1982 James Hardie 1000, and Alan Grice, who had led the early laps of the race, was running second to Peter Brock in the Marlborough Holden dealer team Commodore. He came to the pits and handed over to his co-driver, Alan Brown. Brown, not as quick in practice as Alan Grice, but still a cool head. Then, of course, it was time for Peter Brock to come in, number 05. And for a professional pit stop, they don't come much better. Larry Perkins stepped from the car, handed back to Peter Brock. One of the fastest pit stops of the race.
The fastest we've timed of the top teams, and he got back out into the lead with an enhanced margin, and he stayed in front ever since.
Thumbs up from Peter Brock. We picked up on one of the two Barbecue Galore's cars that were having their own problems early in the race, but managing to at least stay together in showboat formation. Alan Moffat then stepped out of the Peter Stuyvesant Mazda RX-7, number 43, still running in the top 8. Headed over to his co-driver, Katayama. A pensive Alan Moffat watched as Katayama attempted to make up some ground.
The long pit stop delayed the Nissan Turbo Bluebird that had been running so well up in the top 5. And some daring driving among the top runners as Peter Brock shadowed Dick Johnson and lapped him for the second time right in front of the crowds in pit straight. And didn't the Holden fans howl as he went by? And as we see the rear wheel being changed on the Gary Rogers car, we'll take a break and be back with the action in just a few moments.
by. I'm sitting here with one of the overseas drivers, Leo Leonard, whose car's out of the race. The field this year, from an overseas standpoint, has been limited. Just 6 drivers, 2 Japanese drivers, David Hobbs of England, Dennis Holm and Leo Leonard of New Zealand, and at last-minute entry was Bob Tooley of the United States. Leo, why don't we have more overseas participation in the James Hardie 1000?
The circuit is that difficult that overseas competitors never do very well. It takes a long time to adjust and a lot of experience required to master the circuit itself. So the only ones who are fortunate enough to compete here are the ones who are invited.
Your car was the one that won here last year, but it's out of the race. What took you out?
It was running well, and we were doing the times that we had established at the start of the race, and all of a sudden there's a tremendous vibration coming down the straight, and it turned out to be a broken crankshaft in the engine.
What went through your mind the minute you knew the car was done?
Sorry, I never caught that.
I say, what went through your mind the moment you knew the car was finished?
As the disappointment for the team, Alf Grant, who never got a drive, and they put a lot of work into the car and came all the way down from sunny Queensland, and it's a disappointment to everybody all round not to finish the race.
Well, let's hope that your countryman Dennis Holm is around when the checkered flag waves. And better luck to you next time, Leo.
Thank you very much.
Back to the bike.
Well, a sad end to the car, the Falcon that won the race last year, broke its crankshaft, and Leo Leonard from New Zealand, a top driver there, has won the Benson and Hedges race, which is the equivalent of the James Hardie 1000, several times. Also a top-ranking rally driver, very, very fast and versatile driver. A contemporary of Jim Richards, who came from the same school, learned both rallying and racing, moved across here, and now, of course, lives in Melbourne. Just watching the BMW. Look, is that Jim Richards, the BMW? But maybe 41. There's a fire underneath. There is fire there. You can see it there. He was squeezed out to give room for cars. No, it's 41. It's Denny Helm or Stephen Brook. One of the. I think by the slimmer figure, it's probably Stephen Brook. I think. Yes, it is Stephen Brook. The BMW into the wall. Car number 41. The flame has stopped. It did appear to be on fire. Stephen having a good look at it. He was making way for some slower cars and got squeezed out. Now, whether he was touched and put out there, I don't know. He's lifted the bonnet to stop the fire. He was unconscious of the fire danger. Lifted the bonnet. The marshal air is covering it in foam. But Stephen Brook, in a whole host of cars, moved on the outside.
Here it is again.
You can see there, something happened just before that put him so wide. Whether he had a touch.
I think he may have hit the marbles very wide because there was a passing manoeuvre going on with a couple of cars. He was caught wide, and the car appeared just to steer straight off into the wall as though he'd lost control of it.
Well, you can see the outside of the track. It's covered in debris from the slicks, little marbles of rubber which are almost impossible to drive. And we'll look at it again. One of the Marlborough Holden dealer team cars was there, and when Stephen Brook went out to give room for him, he got into the loose, and we'll follow from this side. He's out wide. There's the Nissan Bluebird coming through. He's giving room to them. I think he's paid the penalty of being courteous. He's gone wide there, and the car has hit that wall with a crunch. Wasn't going terribly fast because he was allowing himself to be overtaken. There was just a lick of flame you can see beneath the car, and Brook had the presence of mind to jump out, open the bonnet, and give access so that a fire marshal could squirt some extinguisher straight on. But that's a sad end to the BMW that has been campaigning in Australian races for the last 4 seasons.
Well, Chris Economaki, maybe he's jonesed Denny Hulme, because he just said that hopefully he'd be around when the checkered flag dropped, and no sooner had the words out of his mouth than Stephen Brook, co-driver of Denny's, has ended up in the wall.
Well, the other BMW is still running and up in the top 10, car number 31. But no doubt that 41 is well and truly out of the race.
7th place, in fact, car 31 at the moment. Jim Richards and David Hobbs, the leading BMW entry. Race leader, 107 laps down, and this is the view you're seeing from inside. 05, the Marlborough dealer team Commodore Peter Brock at the wheel.
Vision is getting worse as the sun lowers. Plenty of insects on the mountain. There won't be too many left by tonight, though, the way the windscreens are cleaning them up. But it's a difficult view for Peter Brock as he comes up the mountain, goes past Stephen Brook's abandoned BMW. Not so bad through the windscreen when you're not facing the sun, but it gets very hard when you get those rays of light striking the windscreen. Hasami, the Japanese driver, out there again after the long delay. In the meantime, our most distinguished guest is waiting in the pits with Chris Economaki.
Well, I'm here with Bill France Jr., the president of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, on his first visit to Australia and his first look at an Australian touring car race. Bill, you've seen 4 hours and 15 minutes of the James Hardie 1000. What are your impressions of Australian touring car racing?
Chris, it's a great event, and quite frankly, and of the great endurance races around the world, I like the race here at Bathurst far better than I do the 24 Hours Le Mans, and I think it's more exciting. It's just a better atmosphere.
What do you think of the quality of the competition, Billy?
Well, the quality is good, and I think it's what really has proven the fact that of all the foreign drivers that have come over and raced, both types from Formula One racing, the American Championship car racing, and sports car racing, they always seem to get their doors blown off here by the people from Australia. So I think that speaks for the competition.
You're considered an astute observer of the motorsporting scene, Bill. In your visit here to Australia, have you seen anything that you're going to take back to the United States with you and try to implement at Daytona, Talladega, and Darlington, perhaps?
Well, I think it would be great if we could get the city people and the elected officials, you might say, and all the various local cities where the events are held to be as friendly and as much on the ball as the citizens of Bathurst have. And the mayor, the city council, right on down, and the attitude of the people here is number one.
Billy, what about a driver from this type of racing coming to Daytona? Do you think he would have difficulty in adapting?
No, I don't think so, Chris. The big problem, as you know, would be to get the individual in a first-rate automobile. And I don't care how good you are or how long you've been driving or what your experience is. If you don't have good equipment on you, you're going to run accordingly. And
Chris,
that's the problem.
Well, Bill, thanks very much for coming by.
Chris,
and I hope you enjoy the balance of the race. Back to the box.
Chris, before Bill goes, it's Mike Raymond. Bill, if I could talk to you for a moment. Bill, I was interested to get your reactions to our race cam system inside the cars with the drivers talking. You've probably heard some of the commentary. This has, of course, never been tried successfully in the States, the commentary side of it.
Mike, I really haven't had a chance to listen to the fellows talk, but the race cams, you know, they speak for themselves, and it's a tremendous event. The race cams have done more than anything else, any single technical achievement in making the Daytona 500 broadcast that it is. And I think that's a tribute to the technical expertise that exists here in Australia.
Thank you, Bill. And of course, need I say, the race cam system was pioneered by ATN Channel 7 in Sydney. The James Hardie 1000 continues. We'll keep you up to date when we return in a few moments. Pits of the James Hardie 1000 at Bathurst as we await what appears to be another pit stop for the Marlborough Holden dealer team. Seemed to be all standing out there ready for a pit stop a moment ago. Larry Perkins just surveying the scene. Our information was that one of the cars was coming in. This hasn't happened as yet.
Car 5 in the lead, of course, is Peter Brock. Charlie O'Brien is about to come in the Soundwaves Commodore. Car 11. He's about to get in that. That's they're in 8th position outright on the track at the present time, which is not bad for a car that was damaged during practice during the week with Clive Benson-Brown when he went off at the bottom of Conrod Straight. There's car 56, the Nissan Bluebird Turbo, driven by Masahiro Hashimi, and they're leader of the 3-litre class at the present time. Pretty good performance because they've had a couple of troubles and they've spent some time in the pits. Back up leading their class, but not really in contention for the outright situation, barring something dramatic in the closing stages of this race. Of course, their teammates, George Fury, Fred Gibson in car 55, the twin of this car, out of the race and have been since early on, around the 40-lap mark where they went off at the top of the circuit.
Well, there's big Charlie O'Brien.
Clive Benson-Brown stepping out.
It's easy to tell Clive. You can see with all the curly hair. When he went off the track the other day at 150 miles an hour backwards, stood up as though he'd been plugged into a 240 socket. But Clive, of course, was one of the drivers, unfortunately, taken out of the race in the prang at the top of the mountain last year. And they've managed to put that car back together again, which has been a feat and a half. Number 16 coming back
from Bathurst. Been for a run down the escape road.
Keeping in mind the car was in only a few laps ago. Gary Rogers with that tyre problem when he popped the outside rear tyre. He's coming back off the access road now, back along Pit Straight. There is a runoff area at the end of Conrod Straight. We've had a couple of cars go off in the practice leading up to yesterday's top 10 qualifying. There are the speed humps, as you can see. Charlie O'Brien taking with some caution, then signalled to go out onto the track. That's where the pit lane joins the track on the run-up Mountain Straight.
This is the state of the nation. It's Peter Brock in 05, more than a lap clear, as we see car 54 return to the track. Les Gross, Alan Camp, Capri. 05, Peter Brock, dealer team Commodore, more than a lap clear of his teammate Johnny Harvey in the second Marlborough car. Harvey's got 22.6 seconds on Alan Brown in the Re-Car Commodore. They're the top 3 cars in the race at the present time, and then it's 2 laps in arrears to the 4th place getter, Alan Moffat, in the Stuyvesant Mazda car 43, closely pursued by Dick Johnson, the Palmer Prudential Falcon car 17. 3 laps down then to car 3, and that's Peter Jansen and the Cadbury Schweppes Commodore, and 4 laps or more from then on to car 31, the BMW, Jim Richards and David Hobbs, car 40, the McLeod Mazda, car 11, the Soundwaves Commodore, Charlie O'Brien, you just saw him take the car out, and then car 2, the Masterton Holmes car with Steve Masterton at the wheel. Checks out the top 10 placings at the present time in the James Hardie 1000 for 1982. Information coming to us off the Phillips scoreboard, and you can see the top 6 placings on the board there.
The order is Brock, John Harvey, a 1-2 for the Marlborough Holden dealer team. The Re-Car Commodore of Alan Grice, Alan Moffat in the Peter Stuyvesant Mazda, and the Queenslanders Dick Johnson and John French. And Peter Jansen, of course, in the Cadbury Schweppes car in 6th place. That's the top 6 on the Phillips scoreboard. Our thanks, of course, again today go to Texas Instruments, who joined us for the first time to the James Hardie 1000. Their very professional contribution to the race has been more than noticed.
It's amazing, Mike, isn't it, for a man that does so little racing through the year, how Peter Jansen is always hanging in there towards the end of the James Hardie 1000.
Incredible performance from Jansen. It doesn't race all that often in Australia now. Limits his touring car appearances to really just the enduro races. And can always manage to sneak in there with a 2nd or a 3rd place.
Former Bathurst winner on screen at the moment in Barry Seaton in the Capri, car 50, and he's 2nd in the 3-litre class at the present time behind the Nissan Bluebird driven by Masahiro Hashimi.
That's the old Liverpool combination of Barry Seaton and Don Smith, the Alpha Couriers car. Still has a very strong following in the local area. Does Barry Seaton, been a strong campaigner for motorsport and the touring cars for a number of years. Mr. Reliable. Good to see him back at Bathurst, and good to see him doing so well indeed.
Grice is in the pits, or Alan Brown, I should say, in the Re-Car Commodore.
Coming in now, and Grice is going to take over.
Grice getting back in for his final stint from here to the end of the race. And boy, that's still a long way away. 52 laps to go in this race. Alan Brown steps out, weak at the knees, because he's had a real fight out there. Alan Grice in the car, fuel in the car. Fresh rubber on the road, working frantically. And Pat Kanraku getting in there to get the pictures.
You can't take the wheels inside the car with you.
Gricey getting strapped in. Assistance from the pit crew. Hook up the two-way. The arm is in the air. Clear. Go.
Okay, Alan Grice now rejoins the James Hardie 1000. We'll take a break, come back and talk with Alan Brown.
In the pits, Alan Brown. He's in third place. Can he regain second or even win the race from here?
You know, I don't even know where we are. Where are we now? Third. Well, he's pretty quick. I don't know how far behind he is. I didn't help things, but that's as fast as I could go without hanging on an arm gate somewhere and then saying, well, I shouldn't have done that.
It was an enormous burden on you to go out there.
Well, yeah, I guess so, but we done it for fun. You know, if I wanted to get another driver in, I guess I could have quite easily done that all today, as a matter of fact.
Well, you came into racing late, you did it because you enjoy it,
yeah,
and you suddenly find yourself up with the Tigers.
Well, that's right, yeah. This could be the last time I drive, and I just wanted to get in that car and have maybe that last one. And the work's been so good to us, I just wanted to be part of it.
Now, how long can Alan drive? He must be very close to his maximum allowable time.
I'm sure the boys have worked it out. They called me in, so I guess they've worked it right out to the limit, and I'd say that they'd be right on the limit. He'll be in the car the rest of the time, and I don't think he'll have to come in. They've worked it right out to the last gallon, as far as I know.
So Alan will be staying out there and trying to get back second and maybe even first, which he had in those early laps of the race.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Alan Brown, back to you in the tower.
Thank you, Evan Green. Alan Brown, who certainly doesn't overestimate his ability.
Very refreshing, actually, isn't it?
Yes, quite delightful. But he's in it for fun. The idea of getting involved in motor racing was, as he said, for fun. Then all of a sudden, he wound up being in a team of winners.
Chopper shot from the Recar Commodore, and now the race cam shot from inside the Marlboro dealer team car 5. Peter Brock, can you hear us?
Sure can, Evan.
Peter, Gary Wilkinson, how's the car going?
Oh, beautiful. I'll just tell you what's happening here. I'm pulling it out 6-5. Oops, just jumping off the ground. Coming to the hump. Oh, it's right up the air. Brakes on at 350. Back to third. Oil's 115 degrees 3. Outside. Covering it down about 130. I'm just doing a little bit more. That's the traffic light. It's similar. I'm just doing a little bit there. Crowd race up in there. I'm not quite sure about that. It's sort of off the level. Yellow train up there, so onto the brakes.
Thank you, Peter. We have a slight problem there picking Peter up. You could hear him talking away to us. I would think the most satisfying moment for Peter so far has been just to get that extra lap up on the number 43 Mazda, give himself that buffer. However, the race continues with Brocky out in front and the Marlborough Holden dealer team running 1-2 and looking good.
Amazing man, really, isn't he, Peter Brock? You can see there that he's driving so hard and at the same time so smoothly, and that's really what makes him, when he's got the right machinery around him, almost unbeatable. Of course, there are plenty of laps to go yet here in the great race. But oh, there's one of those trucks for 1982.
Never ceases,
49 laps to go.
Never ceases to amaze me, Gary, that you can interrupt a professional sportsman at work. One could just imagine walking onto the centre court and wanting to have an in-depth interview with John McEnroe.
You can't have an in-depth interview with McEnroe off the court.
You can't talk to him when he arrives at an airport. But these marvellous sportsmen who are so underestimated. But let's recap what has happened here. We have, looks like 44.
Paul Jones, Bob Skelton, Mazda RX-7 off the top somewhere. No, off the straight.
Just to go back for a moment, and then you interrupt during a race, the most important race of the year in Australia, the James Hardie 1000 Classic. What I was trying to draw out of Bill France is the fact that American stock car drivers will not talk back to commentators during telecasts, and yet these two gentlemen, Peter Brock, Larry Perkins, of course Dick Johnson, and remarkable John French, can talk back to us in the biggest scrap during the race, make a lot of common sense and still remain cool. Let's go to the pits now and check out the action with Evan Green.
Clive Benson-Brown in the pits. Car 11 with Charlie O'Brien has just gone out. What's been the problem, Clive?
We're very short of front brakes, Evan. The car just won't stop coming down this Conrod Straight. It just won't stop. So I put some more brake fluid in and hopefully it'll be okay now.
Anything to do with your crash the other day?
No, not at all. It's just the fluid's expanded for some reason. It's just not stopping.
It's terribly fast out there and very hot and hard work.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars on the road. There's a lot of accidents. There's a lot of trucks and it's very hard and slippery. But it's getting better now because there's less and less cars on the road. The trucks have cleared. It's getting clear towards the end now, so it'll be a good run home to the finish.
All the fright you're getting, your hair will turn straight.
Yeah.
Clive Benson-Brown, the man that went backwards off Conrod Straight on Thursday. They worked like the devil to repair the car, having troubles, but they're still out there and running, which is great to see. Big Charlie O'Brien in the car at the moment. Coming up the top of Mountain Straight, taking the right-hand sweep through GTX Bend 05. Dealer Team Commodore Peter Brock at the helm. At the helm in the race as well. About a lap and a half clear of nearest rival. That's teammate Johnny Harvey. And Harves himself has got a minute
had
and a
one
half.
in trouble.
Oh,
One of the Recar cars. Is that the Alan Grice car or the Rogers car? That Tommy Drama has struck. Well, it certainly has for the Recar team. We'll try and pick that area up for you in just a moment, as Peter Brock goes through, heading to the top of the mountain and McPhillamy Park. Over the top of the mountain through McPhillamy Park. Man, we can usually put together the big ones, end to end. The cars stay together underneath him, and that just about happens to be all the time. Peter Brock looking good for another James Hardie 1000 victory here at Mount Panorama today. We still have a considerable way to go in the 1982 race. But at the moment, things looking good for the Marlborough Holden dealer team. They're running 1-2. Brock out front, Harvey playing rear gunner, but he's a lap down. Terry Lee, our chopper pilot, Doug Hampson on camera. Show you the aerial shot at last time across the top of the mountain as Brock hits Conrod straight away. Clear windscreen.
Brock in 0-5, race leader. Where is Alan Grice? That's the question. Car 31 is in the pits. David Hobbs handing over again to Jim Richards, I suspect. Frank Gardner, crew chief there in the white cloth cap. What a great driver he was. Now running this BMW team. Hobbs is out, yes. Jim Richards, the taciturn New Zealander, who's driven so many times here before to victory in partnership with Peter Brock, switching this year to the BMW. Well, there's Grice. He's just gone past our commentary position here in pit straight, so he might have had a spin out and has got going again, but it's going to cost him valuable time.
We'll be able to check the time difference to see whether in fact it was Gary Rogers or Alan Grice. Down to the pits. Take it away, Evan Green.
Well, the number 8 Falcon.
David Hobbs spending a lot of time trying to get the seatbelts right. Jim Richards now just finally in place. They've been cleaning the windscreen, but it's been very much a stop to change over to get the driver comfortable. David Hobbs is here. You're running in 6th place, David. How's it out there?
Well, it's fine except for that truck. I do find that a little off-putting in a major race like this. That truck goes... And other than that, the track's in pretty good shape. There's a few rocks lying around, but there's no oil. The only thing is seems to be a certain lack of ability on the driver from England's part in making the damn thing stop. I don't know what's wrong with me or the car or both of us, but I just can't stop that car.
Is it a harder race than last year?
Well, we've gone... Not really, no. The weather's nice. It's although it's sunny and quite warm, it's not too warm because the air temperature's pretty low, actually. With the window open, it's not too bad, although it gets hot in there like most race cars. Everything's been pretty uneventful, really, except for me sliding off at the end of the main straight and the end of the pit straight.
Did you give any particular instructions or advice to Jim before he took over?
No, I didn't. We were too busy putting the lap straps on, really, and there's nothing to tell him. There's nothing wrong with the car in particular that I can warn him about, and there's nothing on the track. They've just moved the last wreckage away, so there's nothing for him really to look out for.
Can you improve on 6th position?
Well, Jim might be able to pull up another place. I'm not quite sure how far behind we are.
Right, well, you can check with the team manager. In the meantime, I'll have a quick word with Frank Gardner. We had Stephen Brook crash up there. What happened, Frank? We thought it looks like he got onto the marbles on the edge of the track in car 41.
It's a bit of a mistake with learning the rules of the road, really. Stephen was being a bit too courteous and got offline to let faster car through and got himself out onto the rubber that all the cars leave, and it's like driving on a load of ball bearings once you get offline.
Right,
and this is why you sometimes see a fast car held up with a slow car, because if you have the experience, you don't move over in some places, and Stephen moved over just in a wrong place. Unfortunately, it's cost us a motor car.
A mistake due to inexperience and too much courtesy. Back to you.
Thank you, Evan Green. The James Hardie 1000 continues at Mount Panorama, Bathurst. We'll be back in a moment.
When car number 8, the Wilmington Griffin Falcon, retired, it was with engine trouble. So they opened up the engine to find out what the reason was. Under each valve, there is a washer. There's 16 of these in the engine. And what they found was some like this that were left. The engine had just chewed them up and eaten them. And what you don't see here wound up going out the exhaust pipe. This was in the cylinder head. A little, maybe a 10-cent item has forced this car to retire. Had too much work to replace, so it's parked for want of a washer. Reminds one of the old saying that for want of a nail the shoe was lost, for want of a shoe the battle was lost, and for want of a battle the war was lost. Back to the box.
Thank you very much, Chris Economaki. On the track, 05 Peter Brock, still the race leader, a lap and a half clear of teammate Johnny Harvey in car 25. It's a further 1 minute 25 seconds. Car 2 is in the pits, Masterton's car. They've got up to 8th place, you know, with Bruce Stewart at the wheel now, and about to hand back to Steve Masterton for the concluding stages of the race. Refuel, tyres, and a driver change there. There's Gricey going through in 3rd place. 2 laps down on the race leader, Peter Brock, at the present time. And Gricey is 21 seconds clear of Alan Moffat, car 43, the Stuyvesant Mazda, in 4th place.
Well, he's trying very hard indeed, Alan Grice, keeping in mind that John Harvey took that gap and opened it up. There's 44. It's going nowhere. Being pushed up the mountain, out of harm's way.
It was the second Recar Commodore we caught that glimpse of before too, Mike, involved in that spin. It's back and running as well.
There's Gricey, now back on the wheel. Sitting right behind him, though, is Captain Peter Jansen.
The car running second in the 3-litre class, the Capri, car 50, Barry Seaton, is in the pits for a driver change. Fuel, tyres. Ran out of fuel, in fact, and had to be pushed up pit lane. Barreling down Conrod Straight. Alan Grice, he's got some distance to make up if he's to recapture the head of this race from the dealer team. Peter Brock in 05, Johnny Harvey in 25. The 3-litre class in this race currently being led by car 56, the Nissan Bluebird. Masahiro Hasimi, his co-driver, Hoshino. 2nd place, the car that's currently in the pits with a driver change, car 50, Barry Seaton. 3rd place, car 54, Kant and Gross in a Capri. Then the escort of Holden and Bridges. Scott and Walton in a Celica, Hire, Lander in an Audi, Gulson, Linton in the Alpha, Scaife and Bailey in a Capri. Landis, Bailey are out of business, and Fanico and Goff in a Gemini.
Now thanks again to Texas Instruments who join us for their first James Hardie 1000 Classic and providing a very unique scoring service here today. There's Alan Grice. Since taking over the car, we'll give you some time shortly on whether Grice is making any leeway on John Harvey, who is presently placed in 2nd.
Minute 25 is the gap at the present time between Harvey and Grice. We'll keep an eye on that and see if it falls. I noticed Terry Shield in the Eurocars Mazda RX-7, who was expected to be one of the top running Mazdas in the race, is in the pits again.
Gee, he's driven well this week, Alan Grice. Really has impressed me. He's found some new confidence since linking with the Recar team. Infinitely better driving we've seen throughout the season, not only at Amaru Park, but also at Sandown, and here certainly in the James Hardie 1000 this year. Slower car waves to the outside. Grice takes the initiative straight down. That was the 35 Mazda RX-7.
Phil Alexander and Ron Gillard waving goodbye as Alan Grice whizzes by in pursuit of the 2 cars ahead of him in this great race.
Well, the Commodore, despite a problem that Grice mentioned early in the day, was having a problem with the brakes, had to keep the brakes pumped all the time, and then eventually when he thought they were pumped up, he'd go for a jab, and sometimes he wouldn't have enough pedal there. To be able to overcome those problems, Alan Brown mightn't have been doing the same lap times as Alan Grice, but when he handed the car over, it was still running good, and they were still in a competitive position on the track. section there of the enormous crowd. Probably the biggest crowd that we've seen here for a James Hardie Classic. No crowd figures to hand as yet. But as I said earlier in today's telecast, Sandown Park was claiming 60,000 people for the recent Castrol 400. I wouldn't like to hazard a guess at what the crowd is here today, but it's certainly at least double that. I'm not saying there's 120,000 people here either. Heading up to GTX Bend, Alan Grice, the Recar Commodore number 4.
Mike, they're preparing for another pit stop over in the Marlborough dealer team area. I don't know what, and it looks like it's going to be another driver change. I don't know. Obviously, they may have to put Larry Perkins back in 05 just to ensure that Peter Brock doesn't overdrive the limit in this race. I thought they'd have calculated that fairly carefully. I didn't imagine that they'd change drivers twice. The view from the 7 chopper. Terry Lee and cameraman Doug Hampson.
Coming up behind the Citizen entry. Nowhere to pass there. You'll see the courteous driver move across for Alan Grice,
yes,
which he does.
Greg Topfer and co-driver Ken Matthews in that car. They've had a lot of trouble with it. They've spent an awful lot of time in and out of the pits today. Bad luck for them.
Grice gets another gear down, and Conrod straight. No traffic on there, so he's got it wide open all the way down. We have our pit unit down near the Marlborough pits, and as you can see, Larry Perkins
suited up, so he is going to swap for Brock again.
Well, Brock, of course, might be close to the limit on the time he can stay out there, or maybe he's just satisfied enough that Larry Perkins can hold the car together as well as he can. They might just drop in for a tyre change and some top up on some fuel, and then be able to run it all the way through to the finish.
Well, they're a lap and a half up, Mike, and I guess the car's running that well that they can afford to feel reasonably confident at this stage.
Well, the suggestion has been that the Mazdas, of course, can run one pit stop less, or the Alan Moffat Mazda unit, certainly. And to be in the pits for a minute or so, or just over a minute, and have something foul up on a driver change, is certainly going to open the field up again. We go back inside Peter Brock's car in our race cam unit as we head to the top of McPhillamy Park. See the bugs that spread themselves across the windshield during the day. They're driving through there, Brock, over the top of the mountain. I think from some of the camera car sequences today, you can see just how huge the crowd is around here at Mount Panorama.
And how fearful it is across this section of the track. You'd like to be any place but behind the wheel where Peter Brock is right now. Spearing down this section of the track, left and right. The road as slippery as greased lightning at the moment, covered in rubber, dirt, traces of oil. At the top of Conrod Straight. And he really opens it up down here. Getting close to, if not over, although probably would be pushing it over at this stage, about 275 kilometres per hour.
As our race leader, Peter Brock, lap number 119, leads the James Hardie 1000. We believe Brock will be coming into the pits this time. No point in turning the indicator on at this stage. We'll see as he comes out of the pits.
Not this time, I suggest.
One receiving some outside assistance up the pit road, trying to get over those speed humps.
Well, let's find out what the story is exactly over in the Marlborough pit with Evan Green.
Peter Brock is not going to hand over to Larry Perkins. He needs a new tyre. They have the front tyre laid out in the pit ready for him. And he's also told his chief, Noel Nowaki, that he is dying for a drink. He's going to have a tyre and a drink for Peter Brock. It'll be the briefest stop of the race, and he'll be straight on. He's only going to stop just to get the tyre, to have a drink, and he'll be straight out and he will finish the race. Larry Perkins won't take over, but he's standing by just in case. Back to you.
Thank you, Evan. Larry has done a great job in the mid-range part of the race today. So Brock could come in for a very, very quick pit stop just to take on that new tyre and also a soothing drink and rejoin the field. So it'll be interesting to time the pit stop.
Mike, Alan Grice has made up 7 seconds on John Harvey in second spot in about the last 6 laps. So the gap there has dropped from 122 down to just under 115.
Well, it certainly looked as though Grice was making up a considerable amount of ground because Brown had dropped a little off the pace. There's Brock coming over the top, down through the divot.
Well, that's not quite that boring, is it? Wake up, son, wake up.
It is if you back the turbos.
Well, Brock's going to come in, as you heard Evan Green say. He's not going to have too much time for a drink if they're only changing one tyre. It'll take them about 13 seconds flat, I'd say.
Chris Economaki has joined us in the commentary box. Thanks again, Chris, for your marvellous contribution to today's telecast. What have you thought of the race so far?
Well, in the pits you don't get to see much of the race. You see all of the pit action and you get the feel of the drivers and so forth. I was impressed frankly, by Larry Perkins. Here's a man whose career has not gone well for him over the years. He's had many a disappointment. He's traveled abroad without success. And here he is so up, on the track there in the pits.
Brock coming in for one rear tyre and a drink.
Perkins seems to be ebullient today. He's on cloud 9. He's walking around on the balls of his feet. He's smiling. He talks to anybody who approaches him. He is just tickled silly the way things are going for that 05 car right there.
They're a professional team, Chris.
I wondered earlier whether the breaking up of the old sophisticated team that was so slick and so smooth would affect the performance of it. But obviously Perkins has filled in for Richards admirably.
Very, very warm in the car today.
I hope that container wasn't full because he's sucked it dry.
It's not easy to drink out of a full face. I'll be taking a shower now.
Yeah, pouring water down his neck. Terribly hot in there.
Oh, somebody missed the boat here. They forgot to get a label on that thermos job.
Okay, Evan.
48 seconds was the time he took. 48 seconds, which is much longer than they would have liked.
Too long.
They got an air hose caught in the door when they tried to close it. Peter Brock took the opportunity to have ice thrust down the back of his neck, as you saw, plus a cooling drink, and they changed more tyres. But he's underway. He still has the lead in the race, back on the road. Let's rejoin the race in just a few moments' time.
back to the James Hardie 1000 Classic at Mount Panorama. Number 44 in the pits, problems. Thought they'd entered into their spring cleaning there for a moment. They had the rear glass up. Maybe an extinguisher went off inside the car. We'll check that for you in a second.
Mike Allen Grice continues to close on John Harvey in second place. The gap now down to 68 seconds. But they're both, of course, still well to the rear of race leader Peter Brock.
I think it'd be feather in the cap, though, of the Recar team if they could split the factory 1-2. And I think that's exactly what Grice is trying to do. Could have another pit stop on here for the Marlborough Holden dealer team, John Harvey.
Well, this could assist Grice.
Here's John Harvey coming in for a pit stop. You can see he's had some damage to the front of the car. It's been that way all day. Gary Scott assisting Harvey as they...
Gary Scott, the co-driver, handing a heavily glucose drink to John Harvey. There was a chance that Gary would take over, but John Harvey's elected to stay. How's he feeling, Gary?
Everything's well. Well, and no problems at all.
Just adding a churn of fuel, no problems. You may not have heard him clearly because it's terribly hard to hear here. They are cleaning the windscreen, but it's a very wet and sloppy looking windscreen that John Harvey will have to contend with when he goes out, but he's out and still in second spot. You were saying that he's okay?
Everything's good, Evan. We're looking very strong for a 1-2 finish. And John feels very good, so we'll stay there.
Right, Gary Scott, thank you. And in the meantime, John Harvey's back on the track, running in second spot.
34.5 seconds, the pit stop there, Mike. That's helped Alan Grice to close up the gap. I would say the margin's now somewhere about the 40 seconds.
Checking out again, a little down the field, but he's still out there running and looking very, very competitive. Queensland's very own Dick Johnson. Can you hear us, Dick?
Hello.
Dick, Mike Raymond, can you hear us?
Yeah, sure can, Mike.
We've got Chris Economaki with us, and I don't think Chris has had an opportunity before to be able to speak to a camera car driver. This is one thing they don't have on US television with motorsport, right, Chris?
That's right, and from where I'm sitting, Dick, you're doing a great job. I'm interested in knowing what the track is like. Is there dust, stones, oil, or any debris on it, or is it clean?
Well, up through the cutting, there's a fair bit of debris where one of the BMWs hit the wall, but there's a lot of rubber basically everywhere else. But I think it's just, you get used to it after a while. Just get used to it, I suppose.
Now, how's your car without the front sway bar?
Oh, well, what you see is what you get. Yeah, that's all we got. There's not much else we can do about it.
Pay attention to this corner here.
Yeah. No, she's right, mate.
Hey.
These are easy to drive, these old Fords. You can talk anytime you feel like it.
I don't want to talk to you anymore, Dick. You're too good of an announcer, and I'm a lousy driver.
Oh, maybe I might get over America one day.
I think you'd probably be the only driver if we could get you to Daytona that'd talk back.
Yeah, well, that'll do me.
You ready for Daytona?
You better believe it.
Well, we'll see what we can do for you.
Good one.
Tell me, Dick, with the problem you have with the sway bar, you were quite satisfied with the way that 51-year-old co-driver took care of the car?
Oh, like the brakes are absolutely brand new. Actually, I don't think there's anything worn off them, to be quite honest. It's just very taily, that's all.
At this stage of the race, Peter Brock seems to have a pretty good grip on it.
Yeah, but we've still got 40-odd laps to go, so we'll just wait and see what happens, eh?
I'd say so.
But, you know, I'm pretty happy with the way this whole thing goes, especially mainly because of the guys. They've worked so damn hard since they got here, like they've never worked that hard in their life, I don't think. We've had the engine in and out more times than, I wouldn't like to tell you, but anyway, more times than that even.
Is there one place of this racetrack that you don't like, Dick?
Yeah, the pits when there's a race going on. Here's one of these rice burners here. I tell you what, they stink. They nearly fumigate you.
The noise is not so hot either, Dick.
No, they're a bit noisy. But, gee, they're quick. By Jove, they are quick. Especially that car of Moffat's. He'd be running running pretty well now too, I presume.
Dick, what we might do, we've got John French on another intercom. We might let your co-driver talk back to you for the benefit of the television audience.
Yeah, why not?
Where are you, Frenchie?
How you going, mate? I don't think you can be trying too hard if you've got time to talk like that. When are you coming in, Dick?
It sounds like an F-111 has just gone past or something.
Yeah, when are you coming in?
Oh, I don't know. Whenever I run out of whatever I got, mate.
Oh, yeah, well, we want to send a cheerio call to all the drunks up at Club 17.
Oh, Club 17, yeah. And all the ones at me bank manager's place too.
Yeah, right. How's it handling with the bar off?
A bit taily, but geez, she points in good.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's a lot different on Wednesday for some reason or other.
Yeah, oh well, we'll just have to redesign that bit, I suppose.
I'll leave you with it.
Thanks, pal.
See ya.
Thank you, Dick. We won't annoy you for a while. Thanks for being so gracious with your time. Good luck for the sprint to the checkered flag.
Thank you.
Dick Johnson, and what a remarkable performance, not only of driving ability, but of commentary ability as well, as he pilots that big Palmer Prudential Ford Falcon around the Mount Panorama circuit. In 5th place on the racetrack at the present time, 2 laps down on the race leader, Peter Brock. Brock leading, Harvey 2nd, Grice 3rd. The gap between Harvey and Grice, 2nd and 3rd, is now only 4.4 seconds.
Well, the Marlborough Holden dealer team continues to pick up the big bucks, 500 at a time from Wynn's Friction Proofing. They led at the 1 p.m. mark, the 2 p.m. mark, and they're now leading at the 3 p.m. mark. Besides that, on the 121st lap, of course, another $500 goes to the overall outright leader from Motorola Communications. So the money being evenly dispersed early in the week, with Alan Grice and the Recar team picking up some big bundles of cash for fast time around Mount Panorama. But consistency paying off this afternoon for the Marlborough Holden dealer team. Let's update. The Alan Grice, Alan Brown car has been running strong in the middle of the pack all day. Saw a driver change effected with Alan Brown take over the running of the car. Problem for the second of the Recar Commodores, though, with Gary Rogers. He pulled out just as the traffic was coming down through the mountain, but managed to get underway again. He'd already popped an outside rear tyre. And there you can see the tyre on the car. Heading back to the pits, John Goss, I think, has made more pit stops for 100-mile-an-hour tape than any other 10 drivers I can think of. He and his American co-driver today have had problems with the hood trying to lift on their car.
Oh, goodbye to Stephen Brooke and car 41, the BMW, trying to make way for faster traffic there and ended up putting himself in the wall.
A flash flame for the car, but Brooke climbed out the outside, went straight to the concrete wall and managed to pull the pins out and put the extinguisher in and extinguish what was only a very, very small flash fire.
The insect-splattered windscreen of 05, Peter Brock's Commodore, the race leader, going past the incident there involving Stephen Brooke and the BMW. And Larry Perkins there hanging on to a drink for a very hot and thirsty Peter Brock, who slurped that down and had a bucket of ice tipped down the back of his neck to try and cool off as the pit changed tyres and sent him on his way once more.
Pit stop took a little bit longer than they had anticipated. One of the jacks caught under the side of the car, but Peter Brock went back out to take up the lead again. No driver relief was envisaged there. Meanwhile, back on the track was Brock. They had more time to give him a drink and put on fresh tyres, but someone forgot to clean the windshield.
Brock now 4 minutes clear at the head of the race. Peter Brock coming down into the braking area, taking the left-hander at Murray's Corner into pit straight. And Peter Brock, it's Gary Wilkinson. Can you hear us? Peter, we're having a little difficulty hearing you, but you're going really well out there. The communication with from Peter Brock is just not satisfactory, unfortunately. The pictures are absolutely outstanding.
Starting to get it. Peter Brock, Mike Raymond. Can you read us, Peter?
Yeah, I can, Mike. Can I get hear you over?
Yes, fine, Peter. You seem to be out there in front. Did that pit stop put you back in your plans? Were you in there a little longer than you anticipated? Now, I got a slight fault with our communication to Peter Brock. You can hear it, but the return is somewhat disturbing. It's very, very hard to decipher.
Johnson coming in. They are burning oil, as we mentioned before, in that car. The rings are shot. And they're going to have a tyre change as well. Evan Green in the pits.
The chief mechanic for Dick Johnson, Roy, told me that they have a fuel consumption of 4.7 miles to the gallon, and they're using more oil. They're going to add 4 litres this time. As you can see, John French, the co-driver, giving a cold drink to Dick Johnson. Looks terribly hot out there. Tyres are going on just as a precaution, fuel, but the main reason for stopping is to put oil in the engine. It is fairly desperate in terms of its need for oil. Now it's a rag in to try and cool him up. It must be terribly hot out there. Water behind the neck. It really is a grueling marathon today in this great heat, and at the terrific pace that this race is being fought at. One side is down, the tyres are changed. Just wait for the second thing. Still okay, Dick?
Yeah, fine, Evan, fine.
But very hot. And Dick Johnson fires away. He ran over the jack. You can see the air hose was caught. No damage, though, but they're not ready at the front. They can't get the pin down on the bonnet. Now it's clear. Dick started just a little bit before he was ready. Well, they were ready, rather. He is now out. He says everything's okay, but it's in a fairly critical stage for Dick Johnson. The car using massive quantities of oil.
There you saw, very quick pit stop for oil and gas for Dick Johnson. We'll take a break and return to the James Hardie 1000 from Mount Panorama in Bathurst. Welcome back to Mount Panorama at Bathurst. The great race continues. Oh, one got one.
Oh, it's car 38. Appropriately, it's Bernie Stack.
He's had a good one. Bernie has refurbished the rear end. He's torn the little of the coach work off, but obviously heading in the direction of the pits.
Mike on the top of the mountain. The gap between John Harvey in second place and Alan Grice in third is now about 1 second.
Tremendous stuff. Alan Grice has made up a huge deficit on John Harvey. And the pit stop by Harvey, of course, for a drink and also for toast. There's Bernie Stack, the end of Conrod. Got it around sideways, into the rough. Well, I hope he wasn't carrying any groceries in the trunk, because he's going to have trouble trying to open that up later in the day. Meanwhile, to the top of the mountain, our race leader is 05. Peter Brock for the Marlborough Holden dealer team. The pro out front, showing them the way to go. We'll catch up for you shortly, the Alan Grice, John Harvey episode. Okay, I think we've got the driver just climbed out of Mr. Stack. You there, Evan?
The South Australian in the race, Bernie Stack. What happened, Bernie?
Ran out of brakes, Evan. Completely ran out of brakes going down Conrod. I came in the lap before, the pedal was going down. We checked the fluid, it seemed okay, but I lost the brakes over the top of the mountain, then I just played with the pedal going down the straight. Not enough.
And what did you do then?
I spun around down the end of the straight and backed her into the wall.
You're not hurt, no whiplash or anything?
No. Right as rain. I didn't expect there to be that much damage, but I was hoping to get it going again. The petrol tank's fractured. We were going so well too, you know.
So the great race has lost its only South Australian entrant. Bernie Stack out of the race.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Bernie Stack. Prudential Helicopter, Prudential Assurance, of course, bringing or assisting to bring some of those magnificent pictures from Dick Johnson and, of course, Peter Brock's cars here today during the great race. And I think we've had absolutely magnificent commentary from Dick Johnson, of course, and John French. Slight problem also with Peter Brock at this moment, but we hope to get back inside his car again very, very shortly.
There's the Prudential man himself, Dick Johnson. Oh, gee, what a great race he's driven, and what great service he's done for our commentary today. By the way, Mike, Grice has taken Johnny Harvey.
Heading up
through the cutting, up through the top of the mountain. Alan Grice now in second position on the racetrack. There he is. Of course, he's still over a lap, nearly 2 laps, in fact, behind the race leader, Peter Brock. But he's now split the dealer team pair, has overtaken Johnny Harvey. Harvey about 4 seconds behind him. Here they come, Grice. Makes the left-hander. Conrod straight opens up before him.
He's not only passed him, he's run away from John Harvey.
Well, Harvey about to come into view at the bottom of the screen, and you'll see what the gap is, maybe.
Well, that will certainly indicate just how much Alan Grice is on the move. Wait for Harvey.
Where is he? There he is. Well, gee, I mean, that's incredible.
I don't think that was Harvey.
Well, I don't know where Harvey's gone to then, because if that's not Harvey, Grice has opened up an enormous break on him in the space of a lap.
That has happened. Harvey has problems.
Oh, Grice has just passed our commentary position here along pit straight. Now, yes, here comes Harvey. We're checking the gap for you. And it is 7 seconds, 8 seconds.
Well, he's opened up 8 seconds from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain, and that would suggest that either Grice has called in during his last pit stop and fitted a turbocharger, or John Harvey has got problems and is dropping back.
The gap between Brock and Grice was 4 minutes, and I think we'll check that next time round, because if he's going that quickly, that gap could start to tumble as well. Really is out there trying and trying hard, because the race now is getting into the decision stages. 132 laps gone out of 163.
There's Alan Grice and the Recar Commodore.
That's the view from the 7 chopper.
What a magnificent race Grice has driven here today. Led the race, hit an oil spot at the end of Conrod Straight, slid off backwards into the sand, had to recover, dropped away to Peter Brock, handed over to his co-driver Alan Brown. Brock at that stage with a very, very good co-driver in Larry Perkins. They were able then to stretch the gap.
30 laps to go, Mark.
Alan Grace has come back to second place.
So we've got about, what, an hour, 20 minutes remaining in the great race for 1982, and a lot can happen between now and then. You saw how dramatically things changed with the position regarding Hardie and Grice on the track just in the last 2 laps. Under the John Player Bridge.
Grice coming up on the Clive Benson Brown car. Charlie O'Brien at the wheel at the moment. See the speed difference as they head up pit straight, or up Martin Straight I should say. Charlie O'Brien pulls to the left-hand side in the Commodore. Grice will catch him almost on the brink here and race him down, heading up to the right-hander at Castrol. No, he can't.
Grice has made up about 3 seconds on race leader Peter Brock in the last lap and a half, but Brock, of course, is still the best part of 4 minutes ahead, a lap and 3/4 ahead on the track.
Great showing here today for the Commodores. You might check out the situation and take your race cam inside Peter Brock's car, and here he is coming along pit straight.
Peter, can you tell us how the car's going? Attempting to establish communication with Peter Brock, the left-hander at Hell's Corner on a mountain straight, and we'll try once more. Gary Wilkinson here. Peter Brock, do you read us, and how's the car performing? Well, the car's going great, but communications with 05 not what we'd like them to be for you, but just sit back and enjoy the picture. Let's make a quick pit stop up here and get the window clean.
If anyone tells you that Bathurst isn't a lovely place, don't you believe it. If anyone ever tells you they haven't got bugs at Bathurst, don't believe that either. Peter Brock through the cutting.
You can hear Peter talking in the background, but it's just so faint that we can't decipher.
It's the number 11.
It's not 11, it's 40.
41, 444 Commodore, the driver.
49 is the car, Mike. It's Greg Symes and Bruce Smith, a Commodore. You're right. No damage appears to have been done. They've just come to a halt.
Well, he's out of the race. Then we pick up on our chopper shot coming down through the mountain with Peter Brock, number 05.
Dave on the brakes for this one. Bit of a pump on the brake, back to second, jet in. And round and out. Down the brake. And just start your race again. Now, Steve. The water is 95C. They all got the 10. All pressure is 400 in the metric car. Still on Pascal. I don't know if it's very good, but it's probably around about 40 or 50,000. It's very good. It's something I understand. Got on Steve. Well, that's 6,000 now.
One more lap completed by the race leader, Peter Brock, 05. We'll take a break and we'll be back.
Okay, I went to lap at Bathurst. I'm going to take it back to the job, but have a great day and
seconds in front of Gross.
You heard that I have got a transition to always my race.
Not quite sure.
Welcome back to
Okay, David Hobbs, a man who has driven in Formula 5000, Formula 1, IMSA GT cars, at Le Mans, at the Indianapolis 500, and NASCAR stock car racing, is here at Bathurst in a BMW. David, with your broad range of experience, perhaps the broadest of any man in the field, what special demands does Bathurst put on a driver?
Well, the track itself is very difficult to learn across the top of the mountain there, but then no more so than lots of other circuits I've been to on the world. But I find the biggest change here is driving what is more a regular sedan type of car. These cars, if they come with rubber bushing suspension for street use, that's what you've got to use here.
Often.
And they're nothing like as precise as most racing cars I've driven before, and I find it more difficult to get used to the car, quite honestly, than the circuit.
All right, from a standpoint of demand on the driver, Formula cars, Indianapolis cars, Grand National stock cars, are they more trying, perhaps?
Well, they all have their own, I'm going to sit on the fence here, they all have their own different demands. Indy, of course, is tremendously demanding because you're going so fast so much of the time. You never lift off, you never breathe hardly, and you're between the two walls like you are here. This is also very demanding here because the car is such a strange animal under you. It's moving around the whole time, and there's a lot more finesse to this type of racing than I think a lot of people realise.
I don't think there's another circuit in the world, David, that has the elevation change, 570 feet from top to bottom, that Bathurst does. Can you think of any that goes up and down more?
I guess the Nürburgring goes up and down a fair amount. I'm not quite sure what the change is, but it's pretty hilly.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's one of the things that we can do without here because of the weight of the car.
Okay, you're BMW, and where are you in the race at the moment?
Well, I think at the moment we're lying 7th.
Well, good. Why don't you get out there and push it up to 6th?
Thanks a lot, Frosty.
Back to the back.
Big dramas for the Alan Moffat car. Katayama at the wheel has come in. No driver change. Let's go to Evan Green and see if we can find out exactly what the problem is. Brakes by the look of it.
Right, Gary, it is front brakes. We just changed the
There, watch
It's a brake problem, all right. They're in there frantically, and Moffat frustrated. He doesn't know what to do. I mean, there's nothing he can do. He's just got to let the crew work it out. They're the boys that know what they're doing in this situation. It's giving them problems. Katayama in the car behind the wheel, nervous.
Okay.
Losing precious time. Here's Evan Green.
Right. I was talking before you weren't hearing me, sorry, but the mechanic is working on the calipers, trying to replace them. Some problem in the braking system. It's a very hot job. He's getting burnt in there, that man, working, trying to change the front brake. Katayama sitting in the car there, just waiting to see what goes on. I might try and walk across towards Alan Moffat. I don't want to interrupt him at this moment, but I'll just move over there and see whether he's prepared to talk. You can see the work continuing as far as the front's concerned. If I can just get to Alan, Alan's just passing on instructions to some of the team. He'll come here, I think, if he sees us. Alan Moffat, do you know the trouble?
Yes, we've run out of front brakes, mate.
How big a job is it?
Well, Evan, you've done a lot of rallying. You know what it takes to put pads in. I think they're doing an excellent job, but it's not one of those things you want to have to do in a distance race.
And it's dreadfully hot under there, too.
Well, it is for the fingers, right? When you've only got 2 cylinders, you have to press the brake pedal a little harder.
It's been a great performance, Alan.
Well, we've tried our very best. There's no catching Peter on the day. Congratulations to their team. But, you know, you can't fight a moon rocket with a...
with a catapult.
Hey?
I said a catapult, maybe that's not...
Yeah, not quite. Yeah.
They're changing both front brakes. The backs are okay, it's just the front.
The backs will be fine. We always knew the problem could possibly be the fronts.
It's been a very fast and very hard race, Alan.
Well, I drove it as hard as I possibly could. I tried to slipstream as many people as I could, and the engine started to overheat a little bit, so I had to give that up as a bad job. We just haven't got the speed on the straightaway, mate. You can the handling across the top. I felt I was very happy. Tires, everything was fine, and the brakes were working fine. Unfortunately, they've just worn out.
You were under great pressure during the early part of the week. Yet when you drove, I've never seen you appear cooler or take better lines.
Well, when I'm in my own office, I'm doing my own thing. I don't have to listen to the telephone. I don't have to listen to Channel 7. I don't have to talk to the press. I don't have to worry about anything but doing the job on the day. And I've got a great crew that work very hard during the week, and I worked myself hard to get the very best combination we possibly can so that we can try and win the race.
Katayama sitting there, he's a real pro. He's not getting terribly excited, is he?
No, he knew. We knew last night this was a potential danger for us, for the speed that we anticipated we had to go. And let's face it, there's no prizes for stroking around and hoping for the best. We wanted to run a professional race, and we took this calculated risk, and it didn't pay off.
Will there be greater Japanese interest in the race next year?
I'm sure there will be.
Alan Moffat, you're still going to finish very well. It's been a great drive, and we'll just see now how the fella's going. I'll leave you to it. Thank you for sparing us the time. We'll let the mechanics work on with the car, and I'll hand back to you, Mike Raymond.
Okay, thank you very much, Evan Green. Well, drama unfolds as Alan Moffat slips with the Mazda RX-7.
Alan Grice has been closing the gap on Peter Brock at the rate of 2 seconds a lap for the last 6 laps. Grice has got his lap time down 5 laps ago from a 224 down to a 222, and he's closing at 2 seconds a lap, although the gap is still substantial, of course. Peter Brock, the race leader in 05, about a lap and a half clear of Alan Grice in car 4, the Recar Commodore. A further 23 seconds now to John Harvey in car 25. 4th place on the track now is held by Dick Johnson in the Prudential Falcon, having assumed that position since car 43. The starters at Mazda got caught up in that brake trouble and had to go into the pits for extensive work.
Jim Richards, car number 31, the John Player BMW Special, heading up Mountain Straight. The James Hardie 1000 continues. We'll be back in a moment.
In the Moffat pit, they're still working on the front brakes of the RX-7. John Shepherd, how difficult a job is this?
Very difficult in that particular design of caliper, Evan. They've got to unbolt a plate off the top of it and one off the bottom, and then try to get in and lever the pistons back, which in fact are jammed now. They've got the calipers off trying to get them back. But it's a very difficult design of caliper to change pads on, unfortunately.
They had some special sort of design they fitted too.
Well, it's only a normal girling type caliper, which is nothing wrong with the design, but it's just a very difficult, and it's apparently a new
set of brakes that were only fitted or homologated just within the last week or so, so they haven't had time to test them properly, I gather.
And how hot would it be down there?
Absolutely ridiculous. It'll be around 600 degrees. It's just untouchable. If you touch it, it'll burn the skin off your hands. You see the blokes have got gloves on and all that, and they're trying to work with screwdrivers. It's very difficult.
Well, that's the problem that's facing them here in the Mazda pit. They're still working on it. But Katayama sitting quite inscrutably in the cockpit. He almost looks as though he's at meditation at the moment. You can see him there bowed in the front cockpit. But it looks like a fairly long process for the Mazda RX-7, the Peter Stuyvesant entry for Alan Moffat and his Japanese co-driver Katayama. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Evan. Alan Moffat stands by and sees the James Hardie 1982 slip away from his grasp, even as a place getter.
Like this long pit stop for Alan Moffat, or for the Moffat Stuyvesant Mazda, has put the V8s right in the ascendancy here, hasn't it?
It certainly has. I think most people expected the V8s to set the pace. A lot of the small car people suggested the V8s had put on one heck of a race up front for maybe half of the event, and then of course the RX-7s would come into it. Well, if you take stock of the situation, this happens to be a 1,000 kilometre enduro, and we have 5 V8s running 1 to 5 out front.
23 laps to go. Peter Brock in front, the Marlborough dealer team, followed by Alan Grice, the Recar Commodore, John Harvey, the second dealer team V8, then Dick Johnson, the Palmer Prudential Falcon, followed by Peter Jansen in the Cadbury Schweppes Commodore, the big 5 V8s, and the next car on the track at the present time is car 31, and that's a 6-cylinder BMW.
The General has returned to the mountain and looking good out there in front. If you entered the Clock Rock competition to win a new Commodore SS, we're checking the time out. Remember from your entry form that you filled in, if you're closest to it, we'll try and give you a hint of the fastest times of the day. Some lucky viewer of the Channel 7 telecast across Australia is going to win a Commodore SS today.
The 5 V8s at the head of the field include 4 Commodores. Dick Johnson holding up the forward flag in there. Dick Johnson's had 1 or 2 gentle jibes at the Ford that he's been throwing around this mountain all day, but deep down, you know how he feels about the car.
He's been the flag waver for Ford certainly throughout the season. Won the Australian Touring Car Championship again this year. Unfortunately, the issue regarding the eligibility of Peter Brock's car clouded the series somewhat, and Dick recognised the fact that it was somewhat of a very hollow victory, although he won the championship. But very, very little publicity because it was tangled up in court for so time. 0-5 though. Continues to lead the James Hardie 1982 1000 race.
Alan Grice has closed the gap by 18 seconds in the last 10 laps.
That's a remarkable effort from Alan Grice on the Recar Commodore. It's been a race fought at pretty high attrition rate.
That gap, by the way, I've just checked it again, Mike. It's 23 seconds they've closed up in the last 10 laps.
We might also like to have a look through and see how some of the younger guys are performing in the Wins Friction Proofing $2,000 award, which goes to the Wins Rookie of the Year. That's the highest placed first-time driver at Bathurst. We've got some steady campaigners up there in the front, though.
Class leader in the 3-litre class remains the 56 Nissan Bluebird turbocharged car, and team manager Howard Marsden is down in the pits at the moment with Evan Green.
You look for a while as though you might even have won this race outright. You're leading the class, but you lost a lot of time in the pits. What was the trouble?
Right, the trouble with the Japanese car was we have independent rear suspension on the vehicles, and the constant velocity joints are covered by a rubber boot. Now, normally we don't have any problem with that, but we're going through the dipper so quickly, so hard, that the suspension's coming right down on full travel, and as a result of that, we've just managed to pull the covering rubber boots off the joints. The oil has escaped, and we had to replace one joint. So 15 minutes that cost us.
Now, behind me is George Fury in car 55. We saw you parked on top of the mountain, George. What was the problem with your car?
Well, we had a bit of overheating trouble yesterday, and we thought we'd fixed it overnight. But when we started the race today, it continued on, and I'm afraid that's as far as we got, because I think we might have blew the head gasket or something like that.
Right. So you're out of the race, the other car delayed 5 laps, and Alan Moffat is back on the track again, and believe me, he went very quickly down pit lane. Over to you.
Katayama lost, I think, 5 laps during that very long stop. 5 minutes. 5 positions. Okay, let's get it all worked out. It must have been close to 1, 2, 3, over 3 laps though. 4 laps that they were in the pits. Getting that front brake problem sorted out. Let's hope for Katayama's sake they have got it sorted out, but it really has cost them an awful lot of time.
Once again, we take you race cam inside Peter Brock's car. We study the driving technique of Brock as he heads up Mountain Straight.
Total concentration from Peter Brock. Let's watch the man at work.
Well, to the average viewer across Australia, nothing more than just a Sunday drive for Peter Brock, but that's how he makes some of these big races look. It's an often a compliment to a driver to say he makes it look easy. Not flustered.
Left foot braced on the wall. Change down. Really superb sense of timing, Brock. Through the corners and changing down, losing the minimum number of revs.
There's Brocky heading down Conrod Straight again. There you could study the form, the technique of Peter Brock across and down the other side of the mountain. We'll take a break. We'll be back.
Calculation been going on in the Allen Grice pit. And team manager Les Small reckons he can catch Peter Brock. What's the situation? How far back is he?
We're about 60
65 seconds behind at the moment, Evan. We're catching him in around 2 to 3 seconds a lap, but we've got a bit of a problem with our fuel load. We're starting to run a bit light. We might require a half a turn with 5 laps to go or so, but at the moment we are catching him, and whether Brock's foxing or not, you just don't know, but we're catching him.
So the instructions of Alan Grice are to try and win the race at this stage?
Oh, yeah, for sure, all the way. You know, we're running high 22s at the moment, which isn't bad for this time of the day, so he's given it everything it's got.
It all depends on fuel.
That's right.
A pretty difficult calculation for the team manager to have to come up with.
Yeah, well, we, you know, I think we're going to be about 5 laps short, Evan, but we'll just see.
20 laps to go in the great race for 1982. Grice has made up 25 seconds on Brock. But he's still 3 minutes. Oh, hello, look at that. That's a nasty looking crack across the front of Brock's windscreen.
You know what, Gary? I bet it's not even bothering him a bit. Still something that has occurred during the race, a pebble or a rock. However, he continues to lead the race and lead it quite comfortably.
3 minutes 36 seconds ahead of Alan Grice in the car Commodore. A further 36 seconds then to car 25 with Johnny Harvey in the second dealer team car. And 3 laps down then to, from the race leader that is, to Dick Johnson in the Palmer Prudential Falcon. It's still V8s 1 to 5, followed by the BMW car 31 in 6th place. Steve Masterton Holmes Falcon has moved up into 7th spot in the outright standings.
We have our timer going on Alan Grice. We've been timing Peter Brock for those of you who entered the Clock Brock competition for a new Commodore SS. And to give you a comparison, we have picked up Alan Grice under the Hardie bridge, and we'll follow him around and give you a time as he completes 1 lap.
He's been circulating the last 8 or 10 laps around the 2:22 mark, a shade under, shade over, not much variation.
He's got a BMW chasing him up the hill. This would be, of course, Jim Richards. Keep in mind that Grice drove this race last year for the BMW team. And I think any time where he can put one up on the board against the John Player BMWs, it seems to tickle his fancy just a little bit.
Steve Masterton on the road immediately in front of Alan Grice. Oops. Oh, moved over a long way.
Steve had to make his own arrangements then. Didn't do anything to help the confidence of Jim Richards, who was thinking about following Grice through the dipper. 1:26.02 to the top of the mountain.
Got 19 laps to go. 19. Okay.
Well, you heard it. 19 laps to go.
Terrific economy, right? Good economy? Right. Okay.
Here's some of the pit dialogue going back to the driver. Just couldn't pick whether in fact that was the Peter Brock car or Dick Johnson.
Well, whoever it was is getting great economy.
Tremendous.
Braking into Murray's corner. The clock ticking over at 2:17.18. Grice comes under the Hardie's bridge.
Oh, very sideways that time.
Yeah, and that's what cost him time there. 2:24.09 on that lap. Not as consistent as he has been. Race leader Peter Brock, and that's the scene inside the car. And I'll tell you what, these boys take a pounding around here for 163 laps. It, for normal family Sunday driving, might seem to be a nice, smooth road surface.
Pit stop for Steve Masterton and Bruce Stewart. Steve Masterton climbs from the car. Look at it, Bruce Stewart step back into the car. One churn in, one churn out. Second churn now in.
40 litres in each container.
Stewart. There's Steve Masterton. He looks absolutely wrung out. Let's go down to him.
You look wrung out, Steve.
I've been working hard. We knew we couldn't win the race, but we're running about 6th at the moment, and I think for a brand new car like this is pretty good. That'll do us for this year.
You're a fit young fella, but you look as though you've run about 100 miles. It's as hard as that out there, is it?
Well, when you've got a car that's not handling, it sure is.
Is it the hardest race you've ever driven?
My word, the Caprice used to handle pretty good, but this new Falcon needs a lot of development. And
you've come from 31st place on the grid to somewhere around 6th. That's something you can be proud of.
We've been working hard, I'll tell you. I've got a real good bunch of blokes. I'd like to thank Carol Smith, and I probably won't get on here again, so I'm going to take the opportunity to thank Berger Paints, because they keep on keeping on.
Hey, you're going on as they gave you the prize. The prize we gave you is for sticking and doing a great job. Thanks, Steve.
Very likeable young man,
Yes,
Steve Masterton, and they have had a lot of handling troubles with that car, and I asked him this morning how it was going, and he said, mate, we'll be in there, he said, but it's a fair mongrel.
Nice to see him giving such a good rap to the product. I think Peter Jansen was heading into the pits. I just caught sight of that. There's a section of the huge crowd still here. No one's moved. I want to be a part of history when Brock puts one more notch on the belt, the James Hardie 1000. And if that doesn't happen, Grice comes from behind and wins it. So there's still a few questions to be answered, and many of you have seen in our telecast of years gone by, anything can happen in an enduro of 1,000 kilometres.
Jansen in 5th position on the track when he came in for this pit stop.
She called in for a cherry ripe or something. He's off and running, and again, you know, another tremendous finishing record for Peter Jansen. Great.
Grice, by the way, continues slowly to close that gap on Peter Brock in the 1-2 position. Brock leading the race, 1.5 laps ahead of Alan Grice in the Recar Commodore, with the gap now down to 3 minutes and 32 seconds. We'll be back to see how it pans out in the great race after this.
Couple of long western straights at Mount Panorama, and the setting sun is causing drivers a real difficulty, particularly if you're on the short side like Peter Jansen. When he made his quick stop, it wasn't just to take on tyres or fuel, he couldn't see, and his pit crew had to add strips of tape right across the top of the windscreen so that he could see where he was going. It was as desperate as that.
Thank you, Evan Green. There's Peter Jansen we picked up, heading up Mountain Straight. It's a great finishing record in the James Hardie 1000 Classic.
Jansen maintains his position on the track despite that very quick pit stop. He's in 5th position outright, a long way down on the race leader, Peter Brock, of course. So it's Brock, then Grice, then Harvey, then Dick Johnson, Peter Jansen. The top 5, all V8s. 147 laps gone out of 163 in the 1982 James Hardie 1000. 6th position on the track, car 31, the 6-cylinder BMW, Jim Richards and David Hobbs. Followed in turn by car 11, that's the Soundwaves Disco Commodore of Charlie O'Brien.
Across the top of the mountain, Peter Jansen, the Cadbury Schweppes Commodore, number 3. Plenty of support. One of the more colourful personalities of Australian motorsport is indeed the captain, Peter Jansen. One of the few drivers, I believe, who could only really race once a year at the James Hardie and still come up with a strong placing.
It's really incredible in a sport that requires constant attention and constant practice, that he can come out and do this just on once a year occasion, or usually Sandown and here.
There's a unique shot of our 7 chopper, Terry Lee, Doug Hampson, our cameraman in the chopper, following Peter Brock.
And the race cam camera following them.
And there's the shot from the other side of the chopper back to the car.
Peter Brock still 3 minutes 31 seconds clear of the 2nd place car driven by Alan Grice at this stage, as we see Peter Jansen go through again. Out of Hell corner and once more on the way up Mountain Straight. The 3-litre class continues to be led by the Nissan Bluebird, car 56, driven by Hasimi and Hoshino, the Japanese combination, and 2nd place in that class also still held by car 50, Barry Seaton and Don Smith.
That Peter Jansen's co-driver, young David Parsons, would be looking very good at this stage for the Wins Friction Proofing $2,000 Rookie of the Year award.
Yes, I was just checking through the other young drivers in the field, Mike, and the only other one really anywhere in contention is Gary Scott, but of course he drove last year in a Gemini.
Correct.
So I think that you're quite right there. I think David Parsons has got to be the front runner for the big Rookie of the Year award.
The youngest drivers are still one of the fastest drivers on the race too, young David Parsons.
The captain right on the tail of Charlie O'Brien there in the Soundwaves Commodore. Got to give him some hurry up.
There's Jansen with the blinkers going to ask Charlie O'Brien to show some courtesy and move out of the way, because the captain tally-ho down the inside. They race it out over the hump and now drop down to the left-hander at the end of Conrod Straight. It's been an exciting, certainly one of the fastest James Hardie Classics. Let's update it for you. Dick Johnson is running so strongly early in the race, up amongst the leaders. John French took over, and Johnson then came in later in the race, keeping in mind he's been without front sway bar for some considerable period of the event. The car has been consuming plenty of fuel, but even more oil. The rings are shot in the engine, but Johnson straight out into the racetrack. Stack, the South Australian driver, did just that when he lost all the brakes and clouted the guardrail at the end of Conrod Straight. However, the sand in that sand trap is fairly thick and it at least slowed the car down some way. Peter Brock, though,
continues to lead the race. Has done a magnificent job since taking command in the very early stages after Alan Grice span out at the bottom of Conrod. And frustration for Alan Moffat, his Japanese co-driver Katayama in the car, but they had to come in with the front brakes gone. They lost 5 laps while that work was going on in there. The mechanics trying to get in behind those red hot discs. Unenviable task in these circumstances. They dropped 5 placings while that was going on. Alan Grice, meantime, continued to close the gap on the race leader, Peter Brock, at the rate of about 2 seconds a lap. But it's still a commanding lead that he had to make up.
However, Brock still leads. Second place now held by Grice, who managed to pass Harvey from behind. Still with quite a few laps to go on the James Hardie for 1982. We come back live to our race leader Peter Brock over the top of the mountain.
Grice has now made up more than 30 seconds in the last 15 laps, Mike.
I think distance may beat him, and I think he also will probably come in, as his crew chief indicated, for a quick top-up with about 5 laps to go, straight in a churn or so.
Interesting part will come, though. He's 1 lap and about 150 metres, I would suggest, behind Peter Brock, so he could end up nudging him in the tail very shortly.
Peter Brock heads on to Conrod Straight once again and goes through to pick up on the 4 o'clock run some more $500 awards from Wins Friction Proofing. So he's collected the lot so far. Let's check out the action in the pits with Evan Green.
Well, Peter Brock might be leading the race, but let's turn our attention briefly to a car at the other end of the field. Car 53, the Audi 5+5, driven by Chris Meyer and Peter Lander. Not because it's coming towards the tail end of the field, but for 2 reasons. One, it's the only 5-cylinder car in the race, and the first we've ever seen here at Bathurst. But also, it is a genuine factory interest car, in that Audi at Ingolstadt in West Germany has sent their racing manager for the world, Peter Steinmeier, here to the track to observe the race. I would think, Peter, that you're here to see what the potential is for Audi in the future in this race.
We have started this project last year as a press release from the 5+5 car, and it was a 24-hour event in Surfers Paradise, and we beat all the old records from the Saab and the BMWs. And we started a few weeks ago with this project here in Bathurst, and the car is more or less a normal road car with a little bit stronger engines and a little bit better brakes. And for this reason the car is doing quite well. We are at the moment in 5th position of the class, and I think we will finish the race.
Audi has a tremendous reputation in rallying with the Audi Quattro, which is turbocharged. Might we see a turbocharged version of the car here next year?
No, the only turbocharged version is Audi Quattro, which is the 4-wheel drive coupe, and we get next year an Audi 80, which means 5+5 as 4-wheel drive car for rallying, but not turbocharged, as with fuel injection system.
How are you enjoying the race as a first-time visitor here?
No, it's the second time. I was last year already here as a visitor, but the first time I'm working here. It's very nice circuit, very difficult for the driver, I think, and some places are a little bit dangerous. But it's very good.
Some places indeed are a little bit dangerous. And back to the commentators who've been calling that dangerous action for you.
Thank you, Evan Green. There's the Audi going up towards the cutting again. Quite a remarkable first out performance from it. Evan's already detailed its performance record. Basically in street trim and some modification. Tolerated, certainly, for the moment.
Katayama has picked up a couple of places since going back out on the track, Mike, after that long pit stop in the car 43 Stuyvesant Mazda. He's now up into 7th spot, but of course still a long way down on the front runner, Peter Brock, in the dealer team Commodore, with 151 laps completed out of 163.
Getting down through the dipper again. Audi number 53. Doing quite well indeed.
Hardie makes its way down Conrod Straight again. Let's just check the top half dozen placings. Peter Brock in front. Oh, low. There's Charlie O'Brien, the Soundwaves Commodore car 11. They've only just had a pit stop, and I don't know what's wrong this time, but it's going to put them right out of the top placings altogether, I'd suggest. They were up running about 8th or 9th. There's car 43, Katayama, in the Moffat Stuyvesant Mazda RX-7.
Having a good scrap there with John Harvey. Harvey moving to the inside of the circuit on Conrod Straight, and Katayama electing to run the outside. We just missed the entry to that corner, whether in fact Katayama was passed from behind by Harvey. Scotty Taylor into the pits and has just rejoined the field. There's John Harvey, car number 25, Katayama, in the Peter Stuyvesant Mazda RX-7. Not far back behind him comes Peter Jansen.
Mike, I see a lot of activity over in the recar pit. It looks as though they're preparing for a pit stop there.
Could be. Look at Katayama. This is a great scrap, Gary. Meaning business. Trying to pull back some of the deficit after those 5 positions he lost while sitting in the pits with the brake problems. We'll just follow these cars just up to the top of the mountain. See if Katayama, or just how much of a gap Harvey can put between the back of his car and the front of Katayama's. I'll tell you what, it's not going to be much anyway.
He's getting very close, Katayama, most experienced Japanese driver. Mazda Works driver for quite a number of years, and has driven some outstanding races on the international scene.
Rushed up here on a nice procession of cars. Harvey elects the inside. Katayama finds himself out in the marbles, but manages to get behind. So that dice continues, and we'll pick up on that. We'll take a break and return. Welcome back to the James Hardie 1000 from Mount Panorama. When you left us, these two are exactly the same part of the mountain, and they're still at it. John Harvey and Katayama trying to pick up a lap on Harvey, who won't concede anything to the Japanese driver. But they've been exceptionally close over the top of the mountain. In fact, Katayama almost had the front of the Mazda in underneath the boot of the Commodore the last time they came down through the S's. Very determined, very aggressive factory driver for Mazda. And I think a very able co-driver for Alan Moffat in this year's race. I would think that he would be getting an invite straight away for next year.
Yes, the opportunity he's had, he's proven himself to be really dynamic, the Japanese driver. He was not seen to great advantage when he was here a few years ago in a smaller Mazda, which saw him go out in a most spectacular fashion at the bottom of Conrod Straight. But here today he really has proven his worth. It was unfortunate for the Moffat camp that they should have run out of front brakes as they did and lose 5 laps. Barreling down Conrod Straight over the hump. Here they come. John Harvey, car 25, in 3rd position on the track. The only 2 cars ahead of him are his team leader Peter Brock in 05, and in 2nd place Alan Grice in car 4, the Recar Commodore. Grice continues to close on Brock. He's now, the gap is 3:18. He's made up 42 seconds in the last 20 laps. Meantime, let's pick up some more information from Evan Green in the pits.
Peter Jansen just made a rapid stop in the pits. He had a wire off his ignition, off one of the coils. They run 2 coils in the car. They replaced it, but they were in such a hurry they forgot, or didn't have time, in fact, to lock the bonnet clip. So keep your eye on the front of car 3. The bonnet is loose. It may fly back because it isn't properly secured.
Well, that's a terribly dangerous situation for Peter Jansen. If that's the case, we certainly keep an eye on it. We're also keeping an eye on this scrap here. Slower car getting in the way there just momentarily. As Harvey and Katayama continue this dogfight across the top of the mountain at Mount Panorama in the concluding stages with 10 laps to go in the great race, the James Hardie 1000 for 1982. Both the dealer team Commodores have run tremendously well all day.
Katayama once again right up behind John Harvey. The final 10 circuits or so of this James Hardie Classic, this is really the scrap of the race. Harvey was conserving for a while, then all of a sudden seeing Katayama through the rear mirrors got him on the move again. While we follow this this great dice between the Marlborough Commodore driver and of course Katayama, we'll cross to Evan Green.
Larry Perkins, I'm standing with you in the pits. The nervous moment of the race now. Can Peter win from there?
Well, if the car goes as it's been going, yes, he can. And I've just seen Gracie come into the pits now for his last stop of fuel. And we don't have to make another stop, so we've all got our fingers crossed and we're looking good.
Yeah, well, let's watch this stop, Larry. It's an important one. He's moving and he hasn't refueled the car properly. Gracie is underway. The churn is still in it. That is 1 minute penalty. 1 churn of fuel goes in. I thought, in fact, there may be some penalty. They're not supposed to be moving in the pits, but he took 1 churn of fuel and got out very quickly. So he's got a fuel problem. Does Peter Brock have a fuel problem?
No, we don't have a fuel problem. We've been just driving to win the race.
They say the classic way to win a race is to drive as slowly as possible. Is that what Peter's doing at the moment?
Absolutely. He's experienced enough to know how to win races, especially this one.
Now, is he going to be needled by a close competition such as is going on at the moment?
A close competition?
He's got a car right there with him.
Oh, no, not at all. Not the slightest. No, he's got a very cool head on him in these situations, and that's the least of our worries.
From Larry Perkins' point of view, it'd be great to win this race, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. I joined this outfit to try and win it, and it's getting very close.
8.8 seconds for that. Well, it wasn't a pit stop, it was a pit roll through. Alan Grice to take on 1 churn of fuel. So he's still ahead of Johnny Harvey by about 38 seconds on the track. He's still holding down 2nd spot behind race leader Peter Brock. The Nissan Bluebird, by the way, with Masahiro Hassimi at the wheel has moved back up into 9th spot. They've had a real up and down day, an adventuresome day. A lot of trouble in and out of the pits on a number of occasions, but they're doing very well.
There's Brock heading up Mountain Straight. Leading cars overall, courtesy of Texas Instruments. The Commodore number 5, Peter Brock and Larry Perkins, running in 2nd place. That's the Alan Grice Brown car. In 3rd place, of course, the 2nd of the dealer team cars, John Harvey and Gary Scott. We have to put a lap on the Audi, heading the direction of the cutting. Audi moves across. That enables Brock a run straight through on the inside. So from the inside view of the Peter Brock Holden Commodore, the relaxed style of a man who appears to be the 1982 James Hardie 1000 victor. Immense concentration on Brock's part. Coming down into dipper through the S's.
Yes, he's been waving acknowledgement to the crowds on the top of the mountain already. They've certainly put out enough material there to attract his attention.
He certainly hasn't appeared to have eased out of the throttle at all.
How many gallons left? 6, there, 6. Okay.
You catch some pit communications.
Checking on fuel consumption.
Third, repeat third, about 15 seconds behind Grice.
It's Brock inquiring to his pits where Harvey is placed.
As he says goodbye to one of the slower cars as he rounds Murray's corner. 28 cars remaining in the field in the James Hardie 1000. Remember, there were 53 starters off the grid at 10 o'clock this morning.
Peter Brock heads up Mountain Straight again. The laps dwindling now. It seemed impossible to believe that anything could go wrong with the 05 car. Everything's been running so smoothly for it all day. Once again, Brock works to GTX bend. There he goes. There's still several laps to go in the James Hardie Classic for 1982. We'll be back to cover them for you.
Phillips scoreboard keeps the spectators and viewers informed of the situation here on the mountain. 0.5, if you can see it, 4 spaces across from your left, says 157 laps completed, and he's the race leader. He's got a lap and a half on Alan Grice, car 4, the Recar Commodore. Second place, he's 14 seconds ahead of third place getter John Harvey in car 25, second of the dealer team cars, and then a long space to the fourth place getter on the track at the moment. That's Dick Johnson in the Palmer Prudential Falcon. Then car 3, Peter Jansen, Cadbury Schweppes Commodore. Then 31, 6-cylinder car holding down 6th place in the race, and that's Jim Richards in the BMW. Followed by Alan Moffat, the Stuyvesant Mazda, and then Steve Masterton in the Masterton Homes Falcon. The Japanese driver Masahiro Hasimi in car 56 is next outright on the track and leading the under 3-litre class. So he's in 9th spot outright and the class leader. Pretty impressive performance for the turbos, which have had some troubles and been in and out of the pits on numerous occasions. That's the view at the bottom of Conrod, Murray's Corner. Now we switch back to pick up Peter Brock, the race leader. Gap from Grice to Harvey, by the way, is now down to 10.4 seconds. So Harvey's closing up on Alan Grice in second spot.
And whilst closing, he's also taking along for the ride, of course, Katayama.
Yes, Katayama's been harrying John Harvey for the last several laps. 6 laps, 5.5 laps left in the race, and Harvey's closing on Grice at the rate of 2 seconds a lap. The gap is only 10 seconds. It might be a 1-2 finish for the dealer team yet.
Well, Harvey, I think, would be working at it. There's Brock. Jansen behind him. This time around, by our calculations, they'll have 5 laps remaining. You can already see the spectators to the left starting to warm to Peter Brock, giving him plenty of encouragement, not only here, but also on top of the mountain. Brocky heads up. Mountain straight again. There's a lot of cars there in front of him, though.
I wonder what the story might have been, Mike, if Grice hadn't hit that patch of oil when he did in the early laps and spun off that allowed Brock at that stage to get through. If that hadn't happened, I wonder what the story of the race might have been.
Yes, very difficult to say, Gary. That little spot of oil that was left from another car, a locking brake, slide across the oil, backwards into the sand, and then have to rewrite your game plan for the remainder of the day.
Well, that allowed Peter Brock to dictate terms in front, and dictate is the only word that you can use for it, because he's certainly done that since then, leading through every lap.
Coming up on O'Brien and the Everlast Ford. Takes him on the inside into the dipper.
Brock hit the front briefly on the second lap of the race, was retaken by Grice, then Grice spun out on lap 11. That put Brock back in front, and he has been there ever since.
On the top 10 cars at the moment, the Commodores lead 4, Falcon with 2 spots, BMW 1, the Mazda in 2, the Datsuns in 1. So it's been a great return to the mountain for the General today. Here's Peter Brock. Coming up behind what appears to be Brian Callahan, the Mazda going down in between those two.
4 laps to go.
You heard it. 4 laps to go. Race leader Peter Brock. 4 Commodores in the top 10. Brock, Grice, Harvey, Jansen. 2 Falcons, Dick Johnson, Steve Masterton. The Mazdas, Peter McLeod and Alan Moffat. And Masahiro Hasimi in the lone Datsun, Jim Richards in the lone BMW.
Brock there, Jansen coming up, Callahan splitting those two. There's Jansen behind Brian Callahan in the 47 car, the galvanising services entry. See Ford
Cassini in the Bluebird, 9th outright, continues to lead the 3-litre class from Barry Seaton in the Capri, and 3rd place in the class being held by car 54, and that's Les Gross and Alan Cant also in a Capri. Bob Holden and Neville Bridges in an Escort, 4th in the 3-litre class, followed by car 53, Chris Heyer and Peter Lander in the 5-cylinder Audi.
Brock's still really throwing this car around. He hasn't eased off the throttle at all. He's been in and out of traffic for the last 2 or 3 laps. Coming up now on one of the Ron Dixon barbecue galore's barbecues. And more than a mouthful. Camaro's just in front of him. That's the Dixon Stevens entry. And sitting in behind Peter Brock is still Captain Peter Jansen in the Cadbury Schweppes Commodore.
Well, the likelihood of a dealer team 1-2 finish has diminished in the last lap and a half, Mike, because the gap has opened up again between Grice in 2nd place and Harvey in 3rd. It's now 14 seconds, and it's very difficult to see that Harvey could overcome that with just 4 laps, under 4 laps to go. And of course, barring the most monumental mishap, keep your fingers crossed that it wouldn't happen after such a magnificent race, Peter Brock appears to have this wrapped up. Evan Green is in the pits. Let's find out what he's got for us.
I love the actual race, but I don't like anything else that goes with it. I don't like the build-up or the...
A couple of years ago when he had a big lead, he went out and broke the lap record on his last lap. Is he likely to try that again today?
Hopefully. I'd like to see it. It's a great finish and he enjoys that. So I hope so. We can only wait and see. 2 laps or something to go.
We'll leave Bev to her own private thoughts, I think, while Peter covers these last 2 laps in the James Hardie 1000 for 1982.
There's the man, Peter Brock, 5-time winner here at Mount Panorama previously. 6 victories here. What a boast that would be, and what a boast it's likely to be, the way things are shaping for Peter Brock. The scoreboard ticks over, 160 laps gone. And Peter Brock, with a view from our 7 chopper, which has put up a remarkable performance, airborne for most of the day over the Mount Panorama circuit to bring you these graphic pictures of Brock and all the other incidents that have occurred through this race since 10 o'clock this morning. The survivors wending their way still at tremendous speed around the top of the mountain. 28 cars left in the race out of 53 starters.
I think Peter Jansen has decided to go along for the ride for the last couple of laps. Oh,
hello, a wheel's gone.
One of the Capris. Look at that shower of sparks as he heads to try and get off the track and out of harm's way at the top of the mountain.
Sparkling performance there from...
hard to pick up the number. Could be the canned car. Coming down to the bottom of Conrod Straight. As he comes through the corner, quick look out the side. Shouldn't be too long for Knowledge's lap to go signal as they come through the corner. Peter Brock working towards the top of Mountain Straight. Pit crew giving a signal with 2 laps remaining. Peter Jansen again tags Peter Brock as they race up the mountain. It's been glued to him for the last 3 or 4 laps. Pulls to the outside, heading up towards the cutting. Jansen follows.
Brock, Grice, Harvey, Johnson, Jansen, Richards, Moffat, Masterton, Hasimo and McLeod. They're the top 10 on the track. Heading into the closing stages of the 82 James Hardie 1000 at Mount Panorama. Those placings off the Phillips scoreboard. University Car Club members and Ray Morris, Bobby Morris's father, operators of the scoreboard throughout the day, doing an outstanding job. And of course the printouts that we've been bringing you of the overall class placings, outright placings from Texas Instruments and our computer experts at Channel 7. But the drivers are the ones that really deserve the accolades, and none more than Peter Brock, because he's done it all here today at Mount Panorama again.
Brock spares Jansen's there strictly for publicity.
Yeah, no, I won't be past me, said no.
Heading down Conrod Straight. Should have the signal with 1 lap to go next time they come onto pit straight. There's Peter Jansen. I wouldn't dare get into the subject of why he's there. Here they come. By our calculations, as he comes out of this corner, Peter Brock heading along the straight, taking the signal. Peter Jansen behind him.
Last lap. Go Brocky, that's the cheer from the crowd along pit straight through Hill Corner. Look out for the truck. This is the last time round for Peter Brock.
And we'll see if Brock means business. A couple of years ago, he said he's fastest lap of the race in the final circuit.
Flick the lights, the car in front. Look out, son, I'm coming through. Into GTX. Up towards the cutting. Last time for the day for Peter Brock.
To the cutting. Left-handed. Down through the gears. Accelerates out of there.
Up the hill. That wall there has claimed a few.
Really stretching the engine now. Works it as he goes over the top of the mountain.
Here comes the crowd at McPhillamy.
Everyone standing on top of the mountain. Here he comes. The man who's going to make it 6, and he's got time to put the hand out the window and say thank you very much.
Over the top he goes at Skyline.
One of the real remarkable men of Australian motorsport. Even with the hand out the window, he's still able to pull away just a little from Peter Jansen. And through the S's.
Down off the mountain. For the last time in 82, the flags are out. The crowd's going wild. The flag marshals are applauding. What a great sight. On to Conrod Straight. Go for it, Peter Brock.
Here he comes now. The final time down Conrod Straight. Speaking back with his pits. Jansen pulling up as Brock stretches it out just a little. Jansen tries to close, though he's well back behind Brock, and Brock might even let him go past. Doesn't want to get involved in it. No, he didn't.
No way. Stand by for the pandemonium that's about to break loose as Peter Brock comes around Murray's corner to take the checkered flag at the end of the great race.
He's done it. He's won it. The 82 James Hardie 1000. It goes to Peter Brock. Reception from the crowd. Ford lovers, Datsun lovers, Mazda lovers, Nissan lovers. They all stand and salute one of Australia's greatest. He's done it in great style. Said a small car would win the 82 James Hardie 1000. Well, a small car did, but it had a V8 aboard. Peter Brock heads back to victory lane. And a delighted Larry Perkins. And just look at the crowd. No one left.
Is that right there? So you're
So Peter Brock has gone on to win the 1982 James Hardie 1000 Classic. Second place will go to Sydney Commodore driver Alan Grice in the Recar entry. Third place to the Marlborough Holden dealer team's John Harvey. Fourth place to Dick Johnson of Queensland in the Ford. Fifth place will go to car number 3, Peter Jansen. Sixth place to car number 31, Jim Richards in the BMW. Seventh place will go to Alan Moffat's Peter Stuyvesant Mazda. Next, Stephen Masterton, Bruce Stewart in the Masterton Holmes Ford. Rounding them off, Assimi, number 56, the Nissan Turbo. 10th place, McLeod Dane Mazda RX-7 entry.
Well, there they are, 1 to 10, and that's number 1. Peter Brock on screen, the race cam, Channel 7 race cam showing you a delighted Peter Brock. And in the back of the pit area, Brocky nods ahead, acknowledges the crowd. The James Hardie winner for 82, 163 laps completed without incident, having taken the lead on lap 11 and not being headed thereafter.
Although Brock won it, it was almost a photo finish for second place between Alan Grice and John Harvey. Here's Peter Brock pulling up in front of the James Hardie setter. So Peter Brock has arrived back at Victory Lane after making it 6. And I think a very delighted Peter Brock. It hasn't been the best of seasons for him, but they measure the success of touring car drivers by the big one, the James Hardie Classic. We can bowl off 6 wins in that event and put you in a class of your own. No one else has so far done it. And Peter Brock looks like having that record for still quite a while.
Well, the bulk of the prize money is going to go to Peter Brock. We'll sort out all the award winners and all the placings for you again. There's Brock stepping out of the car. And Larry Perkins, rather, who's brought the car around. And what a great sight as the crowd gathers round. And we'll return to Mount Panorama in just a moment for all the presentations following the 1982 James Hardie 1000, the great race.
Welcome back to Mount Panorama for the completion of the great race, won in, I believe, spectacular circumstances in that the driver made it look so easy. Larry Perkins knows all about it. Commodore wins the Hardie 1000.
Well prepared, wasn't he? He's relishing this victory as much as Brock himself, and why not? Because he's played a great part in it. And there, the sign we saw almost first thing this morning up on top of the mountain. Brock and Halves. Well, Brock and Halves have finished 1-3. Harvey just being nutted out of second spot by Alan Grice in the Recar Commodore. So for the dealer team, it really has been a sensational performance, and they've returned with a vengeance to Mount Panorama in 82.
As you can see, most of the people along Pitt Straight, let me tell you, there are tens of thousands of them, are now beginning to assemble in front of the James Hardie presentation area. There you can see the camera, the race cam from inside the car, showing the multitude of race fans outside, and Brocky's already up on the balcony acknowledging the plaudits of the crowd down there. Larry Perkins is there with him. Larry's going to give them a hose. Certainly number 05. Well, a marvellous scene here at Mount Panorama as the crowds mill around the presentation area, and I think that's a world first for our race cam engineers, with all the travel that they go to the United States each year to have cars operate for Daytona carrying cameras. That is the first car, to my knowledge, that has won a major sporting event with dialogue and pictures coming from the cockpit. And a great tribute should be paid to the pioneers of race cam in Australia. Evan Green is in the James Hardie presentation area, and we'll cross down now for the official presentations.
Well, the crowd is waiting for the victors. Let me first introduce the man who has just, after many years of going close, won his first ever James Hardie 1000, Larry Perkins. Where are you, Larry? And the man who has just won his 6th James Hardie 1000, Peter Brock.
Thanks very much.
Peter is exhausted. We'll give him a couple of moments to recover. And it's my great pleasure to introduce to you the chairman of James Hardie Industries, Mr. John Reid, to present the Perpetual Trophy. John.
Ladies and gentlemen, Peter and Larry, congratulations on a magnificent win. For Peter, it's the 6th time. 6 times doing this is magnificent. Once is enough of an achievement, and to have done it and created yet another record, Peter, congratulations from everybody and the very best.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Look good in the lecture room. Thank you very much.
It's now my pleasure to call upon the Grand Marshal of today's meeting, our distinguished visitor from America, Mr. Bill France Jr.
Thank you very much, and my personal congratulations to both Larry and Peter for a great job, well done. And we have about 800 races in the United States a year, and quite frankly, I don't think I've ever seen a better show than I saw today. Thank you very much. It's good to be here. Congratulations.
I can see the Queen, Rhonda Griffin, Rhonda, you have a very pleasant duty to perform. You have to kiss the drivers. How about a word from the winners? Ben?
Excuse me for standing back for a couple of minutes there. I do feel extremely tired after today's race. I don't know why. I suppose that so many laps behind the wheel near the finish there takes its toll, but it was a very long, hard race, and we knew it was going to be this morning because the practice times were, well, faster than we've never seen before. In fact, the lap times today were generally 1 or 2 seconds lap better than before. But it makes you work that much harder to try and keep ahead. My congratulations to Gricey there for a great drive and pushing things along very, very fast early on there, making sure we earn our money. And I think one of the great things that happened this year, after having had the fortunate opportunity of having Jimmy Richards on board for so many years, we had Larry Perkins, who I can tell you really assisted in the development of the car. Really a lot of fun to have around the workshop, and hopped in the car today and really held his own when the pressure was on from Alan Grice. And you can't do any better than that when as a driver, you've got a co-driver. I was wrapped. Thank you, Larry. Bruce Nowacki. Hello, Larry. Thanks, mate. Bruce Nowacki and the boys. Fantastic amount of work they put in, and it's, look, we were wondering when we got up here if it was worth all the work we'd put in. And it seems as if it was, because my good mate Johnny Harvey finished up in the points there at third place, I think. Is that right? Yes, and the cars were magnificent to drive and very, very quick. So Bruce and the boys, thanks very much. Marlborough, Castrol, TAA, 3XY, and to our good friends the Holden dealers around Australia, thanks for all your support, because we really need it, believe me. This one's really broken, but thank goodness we won. Fantastic day. Thanks.